This is Baron Von Raschke, and you're listening to Sports Guys Talking Wrestling. That is all you'll need to know. Turn your dial.
When they're not covering the sports world, they're talking about the world of professional wrestling.
It's Sports Guys Talking Wrestling.
Now, with Justin Simmons, here's Stu Myrick.
It is Sports Guys Talking Wrestling, and we are live at the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame in Wichita Falls, Texas. Stu Myrick, alongside my tag team partner, Justin the Smash Simmons.
I know, and this time I didn't even have to fly up here because I just rode along with you.
I know.
Thank you for having me, though.
The 4-hour drive.
Feels like 5.
It felt like 5 because there is nothing on 281 between Austin and Wichita Falls.
You're telling me.
It was a little barren, but
Baron Von Raschke.
See what I did there? That's why they pay us the big bucks,
yeah,
right?
For real. Got the skills to pay the bills.
It beat going up 35 and going through Fort Worth with all the construction.
I was just in Fort Worth a couple of weeks ago, so yeah, I did not want to have to go to the downtown DFW area once again.
Yeah, that's never a good thing. So, but yes. We are proud. We say it every week. You hear us talk about it. We are the official broadcast partner of the only brick-and-mortar Wrestling Hall of Fame and museum in the world, the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame right here in Wichita Falls. And for the third year in a row, we are proud to be a part of Induction Weekend. In fact, to our right, the legends and inductees are busy signing autographs. They're going to end here in about 25 minutes, and hopefully we'll get to pull a few of them over here and chat with them and chat with others. We are going to talk to Miranda Gordy. And yes, you've heard us talk about her before. That is the daughter of the legendary Terry Bam Bam Gordy from the Fabulous Freebirds. She is here. She's signing autographs and meeting people and all that good stuff. So we'll have her over here in a little while. We'll talk to some of our buddies here. At least the ones that are awake, because we were up late last night. Now, I got back to the hotel at 2:15. What time did you get back?
Shoot, 4 maybe.
Now, okay, so full disclosure, we met a couple of ladies. So we were out with Andrew Anderson and Austin Rhodes and Cahagas and everybody, and we were at a bar, and there were 2 delightful women that were hanging around with us. Very sweet.
Oh, they were really
girls.
nice.
Very sweet girls. One of them's named Mel, and what was the other name?
Carrie, that's
right. And so as the bar closed, you decided to continue the conversation.
Yeah.
Is that a good way to put it?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Now
it wasn't. It didn't get thrown down the way that you probably expected me to say it was. So.
But at least you got a little extra time with them.
Oh yeah, I still got game.
That's right.
Still got game.
That's right.
That's for sure.
I'm in a brand new relationship, so and I wanted to at least be alive for this. So
I was definitely.
And I'm older.
Back.
You're young. You bounce back. But yeah, so 4. It was raining this morning, and there was thunder.
See, that's the funny thing about being here this weekend. Everybody's just like, "You're so young, you're so young," and I'm like, guys, everybody gives me at least a 10-year cushion, which is nice of them. I will say that's sweet, but yeah, I definitely don't feel it in the morning. Trust me, man, I struggled a little bit this morning too. Maybe not as much as some of our friends over here are, but I definitely was a little difficult.
I arrived here at the Hall of Fame probably around 10:30, and I'm setting up, and Austin Rhodes came over, and he said that he must admit that he was probably still drunk when he woke up this morning.
Well, Austin Rhodes takes it to another level.
He stays, he kind of stays.
He has a groove. He has a groove, and he sticks with that groove.
That's a good way to put it. He has a groove. So, but yeah, we are so honored, and we do apologize. The technical gremlins that exist. We were hoping to live stream this on Spreaker, but technical gremlins and such. So this is just being recorded and but we'll post it here in a little bit, and it'll be fun. But yeah, this is, like I said, this is our third year to do this, and it's always special every year. We got here last night, Friday night. They had the Wrestling on the Stars, and this time it was actually under the stars. Well, actually, it was under sun because it was still daylight out.
In daytime.
Yeah. They did it right out on 8th Street, right in front of the Hall of Fame.
But
the ring was there. Great crowd.
The crowd was into it.
The crowd was really into it.
Like old school style.
Chad
nice.
Thomas might be the most hated man in North Texas.
Dude, Chad Thomas worked that crowd.
He
had them hating him.
He really was.
And I haven't heard that type of hate even at some of the other indie shows we've been to. So I was quite impressed. That guy,
was some old school. That was some old school heat. That was sure. But we were able to. We came in, and of course, able to hug Johnny's neck, hug Kay's neck. Kay wrestled.
Yeah, got to see Kay after all.
With Miranda Gordy.
Yeah,
it was supposed to be Jazz and do some physical issues and medical issues, and we'd heard this a couple weeks ago when she had to vacate the NWA World Women's Championship.
Yeah, everybody had a lot of questions about that.
Yeah, and apparently she is dealing with some serious medical issues. So our thoughts and prayers are with Jazz, with Rodney. We hope she will kick out of this. The one of the toughest women that has ever stepped foot inside a squared circle. And we've been able to meet her on several occasions, had her on the show, and so we hope for the best for her. So, but Miranda Gordy was kind enough to step in, and they vanquished the two young ladies. I forget their names, but in the end, Kay and Miranda emerged victorious.
In all due respect to the two young ladies, even though their name escapes us, is that they did hang out with us and they partied last night.
They did.
So they're the champions in my book.
So we went down to there's a Wichita Falls Brewing Company. It's right
Brand
down
new.
the street from here. So we enjoyed it. There's Kay.
And they said they were part.
Kay, you know what? Kay, will you come? Will you come get on the microphone, please? Come get on the microphone. Right there. Let's turn you on. I'm going to try. Well, yeah, I let Johnny. How about if I let Johnny do that?
I thought this was a family show.
It is a family show.
Well, that's not.
Get right up to the mic.
Oh. Get me all excited. Tell me to turn me on.
So Kay is one of our hosts here at the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame. She does just an incredible job with Johnny. Making sure this place runs well and in all the displays. And I think this is the first time we've had you on. Because usually when we see you, you're running around, making sure everything's just right and taking care of everything. So we never get a chance to have you on.
Well, I actually have to thank you and say appreciation for having me on because this is the first time I've actually sat down
all day
since Sunday.
Yeah.
All
week.
Last Sunday.
The last Sunday,
Yeah.
right.
So,
you guys, you work so tirelessly. I mean, we always talk about, you start planning this the day after last year's induction, right?
Correction.
Yeah.
We take maybe 1 or 2 days off.
Okay, good.
That's to basically sleep and recuperate.
Yes.
And then we go right into the next year's total sponsorships, getting everybody involved, getting the cards booked for WFWA, getting the
which was such a fun show yesterday.
Was it a
It
fun
was
show?
fun. That was very fun.
I didn't get to see any of it.
Well, you were in the main event.
I was a little busy, so
You were the main event.
Well, that was part of the fun.
That was
You're
part of the
busy
fun,
kicking
yeah.
We
tail.
were so
how was it? Because I didn't get to see it.
Oh, it
was
was
good.
good.
It was
We had
really
a great
good.
crowd. They were really into it.
Because here, what I thought was pretty awesome was that, unfortunately, again, and I want to send out positive vibes and prayers to everybody that has that to Jazz because she needs it. I hate that she missed it, but what better person to fill in the blank than Terry Gordy's daughter, Miranda Gordy?
And she, and we've known her for a while now, and we know she's been working hard at her craft.
Yes,
been doing a lot of dates in the DFW area, working for the various promotions up here. So I know it was a big thing for her as well to be able to do that. To be here in the Hall of Fame and kind of not only represent herself, but represent her father and represent the Freebirds on top of that. So
exactly, yeah. Pretty exciting. We've already got a little tweet from another Freebird that thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah?
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, pretty excited about that.
Initials might be PS.
Possibly.
Yes.
Yeah, possibly.
Yes.
So,
as of right now, I think he's still writing SmackDown. Although with all the changes they've been going through, who knows?
Who knows what's going on?
I mean,
yeah.
I think you might end up writing, Justin. We'll see.
They haven't asked me yet. So
Well,
that's okay.
I was going to say they're asking everybody. So
Everybody gets to have their input.
Get an input.
because remember, we're the authority. That's what the man's told us back in
That's
the fall.
exactly. Yeah, we've been told that we've got the full, rights to.
I was holding my watch up because the boots were gone.
Oh.
But anyway, but yeah, this event, this is not just something you throw together either, because on top of all that, you've also got to get the induction class, and we talked to Johnny about that.
Yes.
It's ballots. It is a committee. It is the current Hall of Famers get a vote.
And so basically how that happens, and you're right. So in June, the selection committee, and they're on a 2-year rotation, they basically get and year round we've set up an email, and it's PWHF Selection Committee at pwhf.org. If you feel that anybody's worthy of a nomination to be put on a ballot, you can send in a nomination, write up a little bio, write up what you feel about them, send an email to the Hall of Fame. The selection committee each year gets all those. They start in June talking together. There's a 3-person committee. They're the ones that puts the ballot together. Then they send it in September to the board of directors, who does an overview, make sure that everything's good, that they are worthy, they fit within the regulations, and then the ballot's created, and all of the living Hall of Famers, 20 historians, and a few other legends are all mailed out. In the past, it's been maybe 20 ballots they got back. In the past 2 or 3 years, we've gotten between 50 and 60 ballots back.
That's right.
And we to, in every program, we list who came back and who voted.
Right.
So that way you know who voted. And what's so cool and what all the inductees feel is they were actually voted in by a jury of their peers.
Right.
Their peers selected them for their work in the ring, their work around the territories, their interaction with each other. And that's what's so cool about this Hall of Fame is it's not just somebody sitting around a table and saying, "Oh, you're number 1, you're number 2,
right.
you're getting the biggest pop in this
There's
town."
an actual selection.
There's an actual selection, and it's everybody here that's either been voted in or is a legend in their own right or historian that brings them in.
Well, it was like even a couple of years ago when you had Mick Foley come in.
Yes.
That was like one of his big things was like, well, I'm in a lot of Hall of Fames, but he's like, this one's really special because I worked with a lot of these guys. Gorgeous Gary was in the crowd.
Yep.
He was so happy to like kind of reminisce with him about those old days. And that's what has made it so cool. It's kind of, as a fan, and being on the other side, on the outside of the ring, is getting to see those moments because it just kind of humanizes everybody.
Well, it's kind of cool, and it was really cool for him because, and y'all were there, he said it took him 9 minutes to write his Hall of Fame speech for the other Hall of Fame.
Right.
Yeah.
It took him 14 hours because he hand wrote in calligraphy A to Z about what he loved about professional wrestling.
Probably one of the best speeches I've ever heard.
Yeah, probably one.
Easy.
Well, I think Larry Henning singing Ghost Riders.
That was.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta. But
that year was special.
That was real special
between the Axe and Mick Foley. That was that was so much fun, and that's what. And of course, that was our first year, and we fell in love instantly. I mean, because never mind the fact you get to immerse yourself in the history of pro wrestling, which we love to do, and we love talking to legends because there's a lot of those stories, and Johnny and I were talking about this, because of the nature of pro wrestling, there's a lot of stories that die off because you're not supposed to talk about it. But at the same time, you want to have those stories out because otherwise
it makes it personable.
It makes it personable. Yes. They're lessons for those that are currently wrestling, the boys that are coming up. I mean, we see all the time. We have the American Academy of Pro Wrestling in Austin, the wrestling school. We work with Chris Marvel at Hybrid and DFW All Pro, and a lot of those stories getting to those men and women that are trying to get to that level.
Right.
It means so much.
And it means so much. And I've been back in the ring a couple years now going in. And what I guess I see the difference is when I started in 1990, of course there wasn't cell phones, there wasn't all that back then, everything. So it was more of a personal interaction in the dressing room and everything on the car rides. Now when you go in, the sad thing I do see is you can see the difference between the ones that really care about the business and want to learn and want to take it, or the ones that are just in it for their egos.
Right.
And I hate to say that, but that's it. The ones that really, and you'll see the difference, the ones that care about it and want to learn, because if you don't, you want to be the best in any of your field, brain surgeon, neuroscience, whatever, you're going to study a little bit about that history and what happened to learn and how to get there. There's some that the ones that come and learn and want to ask questions and want to interact, those are the ones that you're going to see go somewhere when they should.
Right.
The others, again, they're in it just to say that they're the pro wrestlers.
Right.
And I hate to say that, but anybody that knows Tigress, I'm going to tell you like it is. I can't help it.
But that's like the thing that we appreciate you about the most, honestly. I'm no joke there.
Yeah,
but there are those. One of the first ones that comes to mind is Barrett Brown, who's been here before.
Yeah, he's been here.
And now Barrett is just, we were with him, I don't know, about a month ago at a card near Austin, and his folks, Stacy and Jim. Stacy, of course, photographs everywhere. And I had a picture from when we first started the show 3 years ago, and we were at an Inspire Pro show in Austin, and Barrett was on the card. And to look at him there and to look at him now, you'll never believe it's the same person.
So I've got a better one for you.
Okay.
So in 2011, we did what we called the German Wienermeisterfest, basically, which means wrestling in German. But it was at Munster at the German Fest.
Okay.
We did a 3-day tournament.
Yeah.
And he had not quite turned 16. He turned 16 the last day of the tournament. So, of course, they begged Stacy because he had been training for a couple years, so we got him in. He actually, he was doing so good at the age of 16, almost 17, that it was basically all the legends we had in. We had Harley Race, we had Buck Robley, we had Mondo Guerrero, Chavo was there. They all had to basically grade them on their matches. It wasn't who won or lose.
Right.
Well, he made it to that last day based on his ability. And to see him from when he was 16 and 17 to now is just amazing, because he has gone and he has done exactly what he wanted to do.
Oh, absolutely.
And to have parents that are going to be there and support you every step of the way
that's
is
awesome.
even
love
better.
Love Stacy
and Jim. Yeah.
And Barrett, between all the appearances he's had for Evolve and all the time he spends at the New Japan Dojo in LA.
Yeah. Yeah.
In fact,
what a lot of people don't understand is he does a lot of all that just because he wants to better himself.
Absolutely.
He does that.
Absolutely.
He does that. And that's what I'm talking about, is he's come up here as many times as he can.
Yeah.
Because that's the type of young men and women that you have to have in this business that care about the history, what everybody's gone through, and go from there. So.
Yeah, you're right.
Well, it goes back to what you were saying. It's like those that care about the business and that want to hone their craft, they're going to put in the work. And he's one of those kids that's put in the work. And the other ones that are just there for the show will eventually fall by the wayside.
Exactly. Yeah, you'll remember the name no matter what of Barrett Brown eventually down the line.
Oh, definitely.
Some of these others you won't. It'll be who?
Right,
yeah.
Right. Well, and Barrett, last I checked, although the title is kind of been, in suspension right now, but last I checked, he's still the NWA World Junior Heavyweight Champion.
That's last time I heard.
So, when Billy and Dave Lagana decide they want to bring that back, he's still the champ.
He's still it, yeah.
Talking with our friend Kay from the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame. This is, this is such a fun event. Think back, you've done this now since, had it here since 2016. Has there been a moment or two that sticks out in your mind over the past 3 induction weekends since it's been here in Wichita Falls?
I think the coolest thing to me, and what I try to make sure is, there's some of these guys, of course, that just get to come in during the induction weekend. So my goal, because I help with all the displays, is I make sure that you see something different every time you come each May. So there's a difference. There's something different every time. That's the biggest thing. And to see some of the Hall of Famers that come back, or some of the historians that come back and go, oh my gosh, I didn't see that. That's, to me, cool.
Yeah.
Because that's part of it. And then the little things, like you said, is to see when they get up and they get their awards and how emotional it is in their speeches, or when the families come up and they don't realize that they're getting honored and they're getting the plaque with the thing. Right. Those are the things, to me, that are special, to be able to get to see those moments in time.
Absolutely.
Like, and again, John will probably throw me under the bus for saying this, but like, he spent years at the Olympic Auditorium as the hood under the mask, out, you know, and he worked, I don't know how many times, with Red Shoes Dugan. Well, when Red Shoes family came in and brought his red shoes and his thing and his mask, John had to walk off, because he said, I can't tell you how many times I saw his shoes fly over me to go to count. And he said that just brought back, and he got emotional over it. Yeah. But it's little moments like that. And how cool that Billy Leone, Baron Leone's widow, sent one of his original togas, and it's now forever on display here.
Yeah. That's what I saw.
Baron Leone.
Yeah.
I mean, like I say, you walk through here, and this is one of those places you got to do a couple, 2 or 3 days at least. At
least, if you're going to see it all.
Just to encompass everything, and it's growing every day. You're getting more stuff. I know you've been emphasizing a lot of independent wrestling.
Yes.
In fact, I brought a couple posters for you from Wrestle Circus.
That, yes.
So it covers everything, and that's the beauty of it. This goes all the way back to the pioneers, the George Hackenschmicks, and all that, all the way, and in every facet.
We have information that Abraham Lincoln was a wrestler in the Carney days. So we go all the way back from there. We have the ring from the 1800s. We have all the way, like you said, to current day. Yeah. And that's the key, is you have to do the history, but you also have to show the indies of today, because that's the next legends.
Well, you
have to show past,
all that
present,
stuff
future.
Builds to what you see today with from WWE to Ring of Honor to big indies like AAW and Wrestle Circus and all the indies that are here in Texas. It's amazing, and it's so cool to be able to just take this weekend and appreciate what professional wrestling has been throughout its history. Right. It's really neat.
Well, we appreciate that, and we appreciate you guys coming and being part of it. And again, it's always the third weekend of May every year. And it's open to the fans, wrestlers, public. But again, we're open Wednesday, basically starting in the summer through Sunday. So for a $3 admission, you can't beat it. Come in. We've got interactive kids area, so you can bring your kids. It's a family-friendly activity, and we're right center in the downtown, and you can't miss us. It's the best thing to do. And the funniest thing is we still got about 25% of material in the back. We still have to get out. Yeah. So that's how much we're still growing.
That's the sign of a good Hall of Fame, though. Well, you hear the stories like the Pro Football Hall of Fame in Canton. They have only like a third of their stuff on display, and they've got so much stuff. So that's
why you see our stuff change around so much, because I have to. I have to do that. That way you can do the rotate. But
can I ask before you take off?
Yeah.
You were mentioning some items, and you mentioned Johnny, how he felt about those shoes and such. Was there anything that stood out to you that came in this last go-around from last Hall of Fame to this Hall of Fame that really caught your attention personally?
That really caught my attention personally. I was impressed by the Baron Leone, because, again, who really thought that toga or anything
that you
would
get an
be
original
still
piece?
out? Yeah, that you would get an original piece. And then the other cool thing is, again, I'm with the women's stuff. So I like we've got a couple new things from Debbie and Court Combs that we're going to be putting out. And imagine those things, wearing those to the ring, because those are like Bob Mackie outfits.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they're like 10 pounds in themselves. So
it's nothing like what you see
it's
today.
nothing like what you see today. Yeah, it's nothing like what you see today. So little things like that. But I think my most important piece, or the thing that I think's the coolest, is the Baron Leone piece. Because again, that was such an odd find and an amazing find that, and his widow is just over the moon.
Yeah.
And just unfortunately, health wouldn't allow her to make it. But his nephew will be here, and he's actually a French teacher in San Diego.
Nice.
Yeah, so he'll be here tonight to induct him. So
awesome.
Yeah,
wonderful.
So all right,
Kay,
guys.
thank you so much. We're
Love
gonna
you guys.
We love
Thanks,
you.
Kay.
We love
Thank you guys.
We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to see who else we can get over here. In fact, we may see if Abdullah will give us a couple minutes. I see him just now finished his signing, so we'll see if we can grab him for a minute. We're going to be right back. Live from the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame, you're listening to Sports Guys Talking Wrestling.
This is James J. Dillon, the leader of the original Four Horsemen and the holder of 2 Hall of Fame rings, and you're listening to the Sports Guys Talking Wrestling.
Sports Guys Talking Wrestling, live from the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame in Wichita Falls. Stu Myrick, Justin the Smash Simmons, and we have got 2 of the inductees for tonight. Legends, icons, you name it. First off, I'm going to introduce one of the original members of the Midnight Express. He teamed up with Dennis Condrey, and he started that whole thing that ended up with multiple World Tag Team Championships in every organization they wrestled. He is none other than Randy Rose. Randy, how are you, sir? Oh, yeah.
It's on here?
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, we need to turn the mic on.
Turn the mic on. That helps.
Go. Now we got you.
Doing great. Thanks for having us.
And right next to him is a man that, if you watched him wrestle, you feared for your life. You feared for his life, and you feared for the life of every opponent he had. Managed by some of the greats like Gary Hart and Skandar Akbar, he is the madman from the Sudan, the iconic Abdullah the Butcher. Abdullah, thank you so much for joining us, sir. Bring that mic right up to you. There you go.
Yes, hello.
There you go. Awesome.
Good to see you.
Good to see y'all. Give us a sense, start with you, Randy. Give us a sense of this weekend. How special is this for you?
Oh, man, it's awesome. I've never been so humbled in my life. I'm just glad that they included me in this, and this is really great for the whole versions of all the Midnight Express, as me being one of the original guys that started.
Yes.
Me and Dennis Condrey.
Yeah.
We went on to win the AWA World title belts, and to be down here and to be honored through this only brick and mortar building.
That's right.
Hall of Fame in Wichita Falls, Texas is just an honor, and it's really, really cool. Especially
It really
to be here
is.
with my friend over here, Abby the Butcher.
That's right. Abdullah Butcher, I know this has got to be special for you as well.
This is the real Hall of Fame.
It is.
The other one is not the Hall of Fame.
It's a marketing tool.
Yeah, that's all.
It's a marketing tool.
And this one here, with this guy here and Randy Rhodes, you know what I mean? He asked me to come with him. He said, make sure that you come, show up. He even came by my house to make sure.
I know.
That
I heard about
him.
that.
Yep.
You know, it's so cool. And one of these things like this and Colorfly Alley Club and everything, it's as much a reunion as anything, right? Because it's events like these, sometimes the only time you get to see each other. Isn't that right?
Well, let's put it this way. I've been knowing this guy for 40-something years. I've been knowing George for
You got the double check.
for 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
I've been knowing him. I remember that when he got married, he came to Montreal. He ripped me off
Ripped you off.
In your book, everybody's ripped you off.
That's right.
Every promoter,
Yeah, that's right.
they rip you off.
That's all they do, right?
I'm the only one that didn't rip you off.
That's it. That's it.
Randy,
You tried to rip me off in Japan when you sold my robe to another bunch of Japanese.
Wait.
hold it.
You tried to sell his robe?
Oh, yeah.
sold it.
Yeah.
no, he
did?
didn't try. He sold it.
He
Yeah.
sold it.
He
Sold your robe.
Was this like before a match, after a match?
This was at the hotel.
Oh, it was at the hotel.
I had 2 or 3 Japanese fans that wanted to buy one of my big long robes.
Yeah.
And as I go down there, he'd already sold it and took the yen from him and said he's gone.
Oh,
Well, how
Abby, you smooth play it.
How much did you get for it?
I got $700 and something,
Oh, that's not bad.
but he only got. But I give him 200.
Oh, man.
Well, you made the deal.
That's right.
It's the the dealer's fee, right?
That's right.
Remember the sheriff in the movie back in with Burt Reynolds and all? The
Oh
sheriff?
yes.
That's what I said when I came down. You some bitch.
Oh my God, that's fantastic. Let me ask you, Randy, especially with the reemergence of the National Wrestling Alliance under Billy Corgan and Dave Lagana. They just had a big event in North Carolina, and a lot of attention back on the Midnight Express, and we saw there, of course, Jim Cornette was there. How cool is it that those stories are coming back? Because the Midnight Express, that was the epitome of tag team wrestling back in the late 70s, early 80s, and that was that boom where it was you guys and the Rock and Roll Express and the Road Warriors and the Fabulous Ones and all those tag teams that were so iconic to wrestling.
Well, a lot of people don't realize that in my singles career, I went back, all the way back through Japan with this guy over here a few times, Australia, New Zealand, Korea. I was with a lot of different other guys as a single career, but when I went down to Florida for Ron Fuller and all of those guys, we teamed up with Dennis Condrey, and it became a really good team. And then we popped in with Norvell Austin,
right?
A.K.A. the first version of the Midnight Express, which is originals. But the Midnight Express name has always been synonymous with tag team wrestling.
It has.
And just like I'm going to tell everybody tonight, that any version that you've seen of the Midnight Express, you always got some great tag team wrestling.
You did. You really did.
Can I ask just real quick, when you met Dennis for the first time, did you guys know that did you feel that something would click, like you guys were going to be great, that you were starting something great, or was it more kind of like, I don't know,
No,
I'm a singles guy?
You really never know until you get in the ring, But we had the blonde hair, and I lived on the beach in Pensacola, and we had the Corvettes, and we thought we was hot. But anyway, we got over, so that's all that matters.
That's all that matters.
Abdullah the Butcher, your battles with Bruiser Brody are, of course, they're like textbook. That's the stuff you study. And of course, with the series,
I fought everybody.
You fought everybody.
Everybody.
You did. Let me ask you this: besides Bruiser, and I know you and Bruiser had some great matches, but is there like 2 or 3 others that you knew that when you got in the ring with them, it was going to be absolute money, and you were going to tear the house down?
Terry Funk.
That makes sense, because Terry's almost crazy as you, right?
Yep, he is crazy. He is crazy. Believe me when I tell you that. He is crazy. And here's another guy crazy, Randy Rhodes.
That's
He's crazy too.
He is. Yep. Absolutely. Was the chemistry, was it just instantaneous with, say, you and Terry Funk?
Well, Dickie Slater, I bought him into Japan, and we tore the house down.
Right.
And it was a hell of a match. Everything was great. And we knew how to work, and that's the key.
Absolutely.
If you don't know how to work, we are show business. And when you forget that you're not an entertainer, then you start to mess up.
That's right.
And that's
Absolutely.
what we are. We're entertainers.
One of the things I love is listening to guys like you.
Excuse me.
Hold on.
Let me reiterate on
Yes,
that.
please.
Wrestling entertainers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not scripted.
No,
cartoon entertainers.
No,
not
we
sports
were
entertainers. We were wrestlers.
That's right.
That's right.
Sorry.
That's okay.
That's good. That's good.
We
One
were
of the things-
wrestling entertainers.
One of the things I love is listening to you guys and everybody. You talk about your trips to Japan, and of course,
49 years I've been going there.
Right, and of course, New Japan Pro Wrestling become big, especially in the United States. They're about to, open their G1 Climax tournament in Dallas, coming in July. How much fun, and just give us like some thoughts on your time in Japan and how much fun it was and how different it was, from wrestling in the U.S., whether it was in New York or Dallas or Chicago or Florida or whatever.
I was different.
Right.
And when I had the people running in Japan, then they, when I left, they wanted me to come right back.
Yeah.
So I knew how to work.
Right. That Japanese crowd, they took that seriously.
They took it serious,
and they still do. They do. They still do.
Yeah.
I remember, just a couple years ago, last year when Okada lost the title, you could see people openly sobbing.
Yeah.
When he lost the title to Jay White. So. Yeah. And it is definitely a different crowd. And Randy, I've got to imagine, you had those same experiences when you go to Japan.
Absolutely. My buddy here took me to Japan for the first few times, and what was really unusual about it was he didn't relate to me that all of the Japanese boys would beat the hell out of you in the ring.
They call it strong style for a reason.
They would try you. In my first couple of weeks, they were beating the hell out of me. And I come to Abby and I said, "What do I do?" He says, "Hit them back." I started hitting them back. They said, "Itai," which means hurt.
Right.
And I went, "Ichiban," which means number one.
That's right. Ichiban. Yes, we hear that a lot now.
Can I ask, you guys have a really strong chemistry and friendship. When did you guys essentially first meet? Do you remember?
I don't remember, but I'll never forget him.
I'll never forget him.
Well, when did you first take him to Japan?
I think it was 81.
81?
81,
okay.
And then he took me 3 or 4 other times. And there's a couple of little quick stories. I learned how to ride the subway by reading the Japanese, because back then they didn't have it in American. Right. I'd ride down to the Tokyo Ginza, get me some Kentucky Fried Chicken and him some chicken, and the cookies and oranges, and we'd get on the bus, and all the Japanese boys would say, "Oh, Randy Laws, you're a cheap American boy." But then about 3 hours in the trip, they go, "Can we have some cookies?" I said, "No, I'm cheap American boy, remember?"
That's right. Man. See, that makes me laugh. Only big thing because, the Young Bucks, who spent a lot of time in Japan with New Japan, they always joked about the fact that they'd go to Japan and then after the matches, they'd go to TGI Fridays to eat. So there you go. You were going to that was your version of TGI Fridays long before the Bucks did it. So you set the tone. Absolutely.
Right. There you go.
Abdullah, I wanted to ask you about Dark Side of the Ring. They've just finished the 6-episode run. You were prominently featured in the episode about Bruiser Brody. Have you watched that episode? And if so, what are your thoughts, or just what were your thoughts on just being able to tell that story to the producers and the filmmakers there?
Well, number one, a lot of people say that certain things happen, and it really didn't happen. Nobody seen him get knifed. Nobody seen it, because they were in the shower.
Right.
Tony Atlas says he's seen it, but he didn't see it. See?
I see what you're saying.
So that's it.
Okay. I mean, but I've got to imagine it was pretty special to at least have that, the camaraderie between you and Bruiser, the rivalry and everything. It was so wonderfully portrayed in that episode, though. And I know you had countless opponents, right. But I think, and that's the thing. Like me, I remember. I think it was a Fort Worth back in the early '80s, and you and Bruiser went out and you get out of the ring. You went out like in the stables at the stockyards there. I mean, those matches were so iconic, and it was the. I always joke it was ECW long before ECW was even thought about. It just made you. It made you cringe. It was so good.
I was hardcore. I started hardcore.
That's right. That's right. How did the fork come about?
My good friend Honest John, who's gone now, he's dead. And he got a fork and he threw me the fork. And
Really?
I started stabbing the fork.
Yeah, and it just took off.
It took off. Then we started selling the forks for $10.
That's awesome. I think I'm gonna have to buy a fork from
That's
you.
right.
I need because I got a 2x4 from Hacksaw Jim Duggan, so I need to get a fork from
That's
you.
it.
I need to get a fork from you.
May I ask you, have you had a chance to at least kind of go through the Hall of Fame yet and kind of see some of the stuff that they have inside?
Yeah.
Was there anything that really stood out to either one of you two that kind of you saw a piece and you were like, oh, wow, and it just took you back and you kind of got lost in a moment maybe?
I think the whole thing is really iconic. I mean, it's when we got here, I didn't know what to expect. But
Okay.
I think the whole thing is like a history book when you walk in. And a lot of people don't know that. They need to visit this place because it's pretty cool. It's just like a memorial to all of wrestling and to all of the wrestlers. And to be included in this in 2019 with me and my friend Abdullah The Butcher is pretty darn cool.
It really is. It really is. Well, I don't want to keep you guys. I know there's fans that want to meet you.
Yep.
But I want to thank y'all so much for letting us take a few minutes.
Excuse me for a minute.
Yes, sir.
And when this guy says, my friend, please. Watch him.
Oh, he's shaking.
Watch him.
He's shaking his hand like, yeah.
Watch him.
Yeah.
You know,
Watch
that's,
him.
that's what we
Just
love.
remember who brought you the cookies and the apples on the bus. in
That's right,
Japan.
and the Kentucky Fried Chicken.
And the
Yeah.
Kentucky
Right.
Fried
And
Chicken.
he's still bringing me eggs here.
That's right.
Yeah.
There you go.
He just told me the other day, don't bring me no more. I'm on a diet. I need to get my hip fixed. I said, eat it and shut up.
That's right. Randy Rose from
Guys, man.
the original Midnight Express. Abdullah the
Congratulations
Butcher.
again.
Again, congratulations on your induction that's going to happen tonight. Thank you so much for giving us some of your time, and enjoy the rest of the weekend.
All right, you got
Can,
it.
can, can I ask real fast? I know.
Real quick.
I'm sorry. Did you guys already write something, or you guys are just going to shoot straight from the heart?
I wrote it, and I'm going to read it.
There you go.
All right. Just curious. Just curious. Always
And
like to-
Abby,
What's that?
do you have a speech written, or you're just going to?
No, I ain't got nothing.
There you go.
No.
That's okay. You don't have to spend. Mick Foley spent 14 hours on his speech.
No.
You know, you don't have to do that.
This is his motto. I ain't got nothing but a fork.
That's right.
That's
That's right. Thank y'all so much. We're
All
going to
right,
take a
thank
quick
you.
time out. When we do, we're going to bring George Napolitano because he's standing here, and we got to bring on our favorite photographer.
Yeah, George.
Coming back, we are Sports Guys Talking Wrestling live from the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame.
For he is limitless. This is the limitless Keith Lee, and you're now basking in the glory of Sports Guys Talking Wrestling. For he is limitless. Oh, who is he? Who's that champ I see?
Sports Guys Talking Wrestling live at the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame. Keith Lee, a Wichita Falls native, now making his waves in NXT. He's back. He's recovered from his injury.
You never know. We might see him end up here one day.
He better. He's one of the best, and he's one of our favorites. Now joining us, our favorite photographer, and everybody's favorite photographer, and 2017 Hall of Fame inductee, George Napolitano. Hello, George.
Oh, hi. How you doing today?
Now, you and I saw each other last month in New York.
Yes, sir.
We were together at the Busted Open
But
party.
I wanted you to come out, spend the night, and I would take you around New York City.
Okay, Carrie Silken keeps telling me I need to come out. So I think sometime this summer, you, me, and Carrie, I'm going to come up to New York. You, me, and Carrie need to go do the town.
Okay, and I will take you a few places. You will enjoy yourself.
I'm sure you will. I'm sure you will. How much fun is this?
Oh, it's great seeing people I haven't really seen in a long, long time, and to renew acquaintance with a lot of people.
Well, the one thing that I found was a little humorous for me, George, is that you got here, we said hi to you, I was really excited, but like your mind was already on the ring and you were getting ready for your camera to get set. And I was like, man, are you ever not working?
Well, I don't call it work.
That's
It
right.
isn't like I'm going to work
Because you're doing
every
something
day.
you love.
Yeah, and it's not really work to me. I mean, I'll just say, like, presently, I'm out every day taking pictures, celebrity photos as a cold paparazzi, but not really a paparazzi. I don't chase anybody.
And I love because you tag us on those photos, and I love seeing those photos. I mean, you're doing everything from Matt's opening day to the
Red
Met
carpets.
Gala
Yeah.
to movie red carpets. I mean, you were at the Warner Media up front.
Yes, And it's not really like I'm working. I am, I guess, but I don't consider it work. If I wasn't doing that, I would just be staying home on my couch and watching TV and just getting bored. I mean, I can watch YouTube and watch all the matches, but I see myself. I was there already.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about with Randy Rose about, how a lot of people discover them through YouTube. Yeah. And that's, honest, there's Saturday mornings when I have nothing else going on. I'll just pop on YouTube and just start watching. And it'll be matches I saw as a kid. But I'm, it's going down, as they say, going down that YouTube rabbit hole and just reminiscing about how good those matches are.
I see these things and I wonder, how was I able to go to all those places? I really don't know. I can't fathom how I did it, seriously.
Look, we've been doing this for 3 years, and it still blows me away that, I've just covered a wrestling show at Madison Square Garden. For a kid from a town of 6,000 in Northeast Texas,
and you had more people in the building,
and never even imagined ever going to Madison Square Garden, much less to cover a wrestling show there, was so magical. I mean, I had to take a moment when we walked up when Mark Kruskal, who the PR for Ring of Honor, took us up to the press box, and there's my seat, and there's a name card. It says Madison Square Garden. It says Stu Meyer at KTXX-FM. I had to take a moment.
There you go.
And Carrie and I have been texting. We've been talking about the previous 4 weeks almost nonstop because he was excited. Mm-hmm. How cool was that? You were there. How cool was that?
Oh, it was great. I mean, it was amazing that they were able to get into the Garden.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember going there as a kid. Watching, I think it was yesterday, would have been the anniversary of Bruno Sammartino against Buddy Rogers.
Oh, wow.
When Bruno won the title for the first time, May 17th.
Yeah.
And I was there as a kid watching that. And then years later, never thinking I was going to do what I did, years later, photographing at Madison Square Garden, and then photographing Bruno at Madison Square Garden.
And now seeing like Matt Taven win the Ring of Honor World title and Okada winning the IWGP. And now they're going to do another. The AAA out of Mexico is going to be there in September.
Yes.
George, let me ask you this, man, because I've seen it on Twitter a lot. A lot of armchair wrestling historians that do a lot of great work. They dig up some great stuff, but are you even kind of perplexed with the fact that you took so many photos, like they randomly pop up and you're like, I completely forgot about that? Because I see some of the stories you're like, oh, yeah, I remember this now.
Because I took so many. I mean, and then I see these photos come up on Twitter, just different people. The only thing that bothers me about it, if they came out of the magazine that I did, they know I did the photo. If they put my name, great. A lot of times it's uncredited or it's whatever. That's the only time it bothers me, when some people put their own inscription across pictures that they
like watermark or something
that they copied out of a magazine as if it is their own. I mean, that's the only thing. But I love that people can see it and watch it and do it and I recognize.
Yeah. I think if you can reiterate this for maybe some of our new listeners, like, obviously a photographer, but they might not know like how many of these magazines that you actually published. And there was a lot.
Honestly, I can't even get into the number. It depended on the year, and I can't even tell you the year. I did anywhere from 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 magazines a month.
Mm-hmm. A month.
Oh, yeah. And a magazine, the smallest one was 64 pages to 100 pages. And anywhere in between. I remember one year I did 9 magazines in 1 month.
9
in 1 month.
How did you find the time when you're on the road?
There's 4 weeks in a month. I did 9 magazines in a month. I don't know how. I used to do, but that would include a lot of picture book, scrapbook kind of things.
But still, you had to still go and take the photos.
Yeah, still had to take the photos. Still had to go over it. I had somebody that worked for me as an associate. He would do the captions.
Okay.
Yeah.
I really didn't do the captions, and the headlines, they would change. But I didn't have time to think about the headlines and think about the captions, and I would tell them who was in the photo.
Well, one of the most amazing things is that this is way before the digital era.
Yes.
So
the magazines were vital. They were vital back then, right?
Well, magazines were cable TV. Before cable, the only way you knew about a particular wrestler, or any wrestler that is by looking at the magazines.
Absolutely.
If you read something about somebody, right away he was elevated in your mind. He was the next step up it was somebody that you kind of heard of.
Well-
And then at the Garden, they would say, and next month coming is going to be Mando Guerrero. So you're going to say, ooh, I read about him. He's from L.A.
Yeah.
So right away, you knew something about that person.
That was always the way. I mean, again, as a kid, that's the way I knew. That there was wrestling outside of Mid-South and world class was through the magazines like Wrestlers Weekly and Pro Wrestling Illustrated and those. That's how you kept up with, the fact that David Von Erich would go to Missouri and win the Missouri Heavyweight Championship, or what's happening in Florida, or all that. That was this was long before the days of Wrestling Observer and Pro Wrestling Torch and all those.
Well, you had asked before, and at the top of my head, I did Wrestling Scene, Wrestling All-Stars, TV Wrestler, Ringside Wrestling, Badass Dudes, Beauties of Wrestling, Wrestling Scrapbook, Wrestling Poster Magazine. I think I'm up to 8.
Yeah. I was like, that's 8 right there.
Yeah, and those posters, the posters in the magazines.
Wrestling Reporter, large-size newspaper, and that's 9. It's a 9. And I know I did Raw versus Nitro for a while, a special Raw Nitro magazine.
Wow.
When they were at war.
When they were feuding back in the day. Jeez, man. You've seen it all, though.
Well,
and you captured it all, which without
I tried.
Well, you're like one of the greatest historians with your photos, because without all of that, it wouldn't have worked the same.
Well, thank you. You do mention the greatest with the photos, which I did. I did a lot of pictures. But I also wrote everything that went with that, which people overlook. That they'll say that, oh, you're this photographer, you were the photographer, which is great, which I was. But I also wrote 12 books.
Yeah.
And all those different magazines and stories.
And I'm sure someone that you photographed a whole lot is now joining us.
Mr.
Another 2019 Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame inductee, Bob Roop.
Yes, I saw Bob in Florida. And then Bob came up and he did a couple spots in Madison Square Garden. And I mentioned to this earlier, when they announced him for the Garden, I knew I had a story that I was going to do for Wrestling All-Stars.
Already?
I had it in my head. I knew what I was going to do, because it was Bob Roop, who was known for his Florida, and he was coming into New York.
That's right. Bob, how are you, sir? It's good to see you this morning.
Well, it's good to be here.
It really is. Yeah, that's a little bit better. Let's make sure it's on there, Justin. Abby may have turned it. There we go. Okay, now
Is that
that's better? There we go.
It's nice to be here. This is like a place where wrestling is given a lot of respect.
It is.
Not only by the people who are in it and for each other, but by our supporters. The people who came out over the years and made a living for us by buying tickets, and now we're helping preserve our memories. And it couldn't be better. I'm having a great time.
It really is. It's so funny. I knew a little bit about you, but I learned a lot about you. You were on Busted Open on Sirius XM with our good friend Dave LaGreca, and he was just over the moon that he had you on. And I learned so much about you in that interview. And when it was found out, when they announced that you were being inducted, I knew I wanted to get Bob Roop on, because you were such a fascinating individual. You were an Olympian. That's correct, right? And tell everybody what you competed in which Olympics.
It was 1968, Mexico City. I was Greco-Roman heavyweight on the United States Olympic team. I took 7th place, which was in this country, in the United States, if you don't take first, you're a failure. And for years, I didn't regularly in my normal life, I didn't even mention. I never made mention of the fact that I was an Olympian, until one day I realized when as a scout leader, we did a motto of "Do your best." And I thought, wait a minute, 7th best in the world at anything.
That's
tiddlywinks.
Absolutely.
Best at anything for 1 year is extraordinary. And of course, there's another factor that people forget. The idea about being an Olympian, being honored, the honor was for me to be able to represent the United States.
Absolutely.
In a world competition.
Absolutely.
That's an
honor
at the
highest level.
At the very highest level, and to be competing against guys that frankly were much better than me, but I was at their level of competition.
Yes.
And that was a signal honor because I started out as a freshman in high school, just like a lot of other people.
Absolutely.
And not too many of us made the Olympic team.
That's right.
Bob, if I can ask, how'd you make the transition from the Olympics amateur to the professional ranks?
It wasn't hard, George. It's a great question. I wanted to put amateur wrestling behind me. I'd been in the service. I'd done amateur wrestling for 13 years. I'd been in the Olympics. My last tournament after the Olympics was the 1969 National AAU Greco-Roman Tournament in my home state of Detroit, and it was the first national tournament I won. I had placed in the national AAUs and was an All-American 4 times, but I'd never won one. And like earlier, to bring relevance to that, earlier, I had said that if you don't take first in this country, you're like a failure. So it was nice. I had a second in the National AAU and All-American, but I finally won one. I had to go down to 220 to do it. I wasn't really a legitimate heavyweight, which I found out in the Olympics because the guy that won it was 7'2", weighed about 400 pounds. And Greco-Roman was a lot of pushing and power more than finesse. So,
right.
But once that 69 tournament was over, George, in response to your question, in order to stay at that level of competition, you have to train constantly. I mean, every day. Uh-huh. And you might have a rest day, but even on that rest day, you're going to stretch and maybe jog. But you got to train seriously, to be at that level. And it's hard. So I was looking, after years of doing it, I was looking for a break. And the other deal is I wanted to travel.
Okay.
The wrestling business for me was never about money. And guys thought I was stupid. The only reason to be in the business is money. For me, it was a way to travel.
And you traveled everywhere.
Oh, absolutely, you did. Yeah. And by the way, something you just said that connected with me. You're a Scout leader. You're in Boy Scouts.
Yes.
I'm an Eagle Scout. So that right there just makes me love you even more. So,
that you're an Eagle Scout has my admiration for you.
Thank you.
It tells me without knowing you,
and I'm still active. So.
Without telling me, without knowing you, it tells me a lot about you.
Thank you, sir. That's wonderful.
A lot of good things.
I appreciate that
because it takes work and dedication and good intentions to become an Eagle Scout.
And I still do it because I'm doing it to pay back my Scout leaders for what they did for me.
Working with boys, young boys, and girls and Scouts. What an honor, to be a good role model for them. Now, that might sound contradictory to say this ex-pro wrestler is a good role model, but, one of the things you learn by purposely and deliberately behaving very badly is that when it comes time to behave correctly and properly, you actually know how to do it.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Wait, Bob, can I ask you, sir? When you decided to become a professional wrestler, how hard was it to transition to the ring, or was it something that you felt natural when you first stepped in?
No, it was. Probably for my trainers, it was torture. There were guys like Slater's an example. Slater was kind of a natural, and I have a theory about that. He's gone. I don't want to knock him. I have a theory about that. That I think in real life, in his own mind, he was a heel already.
He loved being a heel,
and he just took to it naturally. And also, he was a good mimic.
Yes.
Terry Funk was his mimic. He wanted to be Terry Funk. He literally wanted to be Terry Funk. Yeah. I don't mean like Terry Funk. He wanted to be Terry Funk.
Well, and you could see that when he was in the ring.
Yeah.
That was kind of and I don't think I ever saw him be a babyface. He was always a heel, and he was always kind of in that same realm as Terry Funk, kind of that crazy, wild-eyed,
But he knew how to wrestle.
He did. He absolutely knew how to wrestle.
Yeah. Well, he was a good mimic, and there's conjecture about how tough he really was, and that has no bearing on anything.
Right.
Because my toughness, a lot of so-called toughness or badness, came from my Olympic background. Here's the deal. In amateur wrestling, if you hurt somebody one time, you got a problem. If you hurt them again the same way, you are done.
Right.
No more wrestling for you, amateur wrestling.
Yeah.
They're safety conscious because it's very easy the way, if you do a proper hold incorrectly, you can break and bend things.
Right.
And I learned by learning how to hook, all the hook and submission holds from people like Carl Gotch and Billy Robinson. I didn't learn from Billy, but I learned from people Hiro Matsuda, and people who would teach me without having to torture me to learn it. I learned them mainly to protect myself,
right?
Not to put them on anybody. I used them on a few people who were trying to hurt me, but those holes are intended to.
But that background, though, scared, quote unquote, scared other wrestlers at times.
Yes,
they were afraid you were going to do something.
Yes, that's why I wanted to avoid it. You know, I don't want to say that I'm not. I don't want to tout myself and say I'm smart, but I'm not an idiot. And I knew that getting into the wrestling business, I heard right away the stuff about Shooter. I knew that if guys were afraid of me, that I was going to have a hard time having a good match with them, because they were going to be afraid to do anything. To me, is that if I hit Bob too hard, or if I do something he doesn't like, he's going to grab me and hurt me. Well, I avoided that like the plague. Now, the problem was, in Florida, Eddie Graham and liked to have...
Enforcer.
He had a snake pit in the wrestling office, but I wrestled with as many as, 24 people in front of live audiences with the idea of... Nobody told me in those matches, break their leg. Well, actually in Jacksonville, so a guy did say, break this guy's leg. Of course, I didn't do it, but I knew a hold called the sugar hold, which is pretty famous, and I could put guys out to where they were out. It's like the sugar, it's like the sleeper hold. It's applied differently,
right?
But it has the same effect. And the guys would be out, and therefore, harmless. They couldn't hurt me, and pretty soundly defeated. When the guy's unconscious. But I did that in front of audiences. Well, the boys were watching too.
That was your reputation.
They were saying, "Oh my God, what if he does that to me?" So I'm going to go out there in Bob Roop. I'm going to have kid gloves, and I'm going to be quaking in my boots. I didn't want guys to.
Absolutely.
But because if that was the philosophy. I'm sorry, George. I keep interrupting your good questions.
It's quiet.
What happened if I had that philosophy and now I'm going against Andre?
That could be a problem. You may not be here today. That's right.
Yes. So, of course I'm not going to have that philosophy.
Yeah. George Napolitano and Bob Roop joining us.
Okay, then how did it, if I can ask you, and I'm sorry if I rub a nerve, how did it come from this amateur background to being one of Kevin Sullivan's crazed disciples?
That's right. You were part of his little stable, wasn't you?
Yeah, it's not a nerve at all. I was in the doldrums of my career. There had been a regime change. I'd worked for Ole Anderson for 3 years in Atlanta, helping run his company. And he sold out to Turner or to Crockett. I don't remember. I think Crockett. And Dusty came in and took over as booker, and I found myself out of work, and I was kind of discouraged. I'd been at the business 15 straight years, and I gave it one more run. I went to Florida. But Kevin Sullivan came up with an idea, and this is not to blame Kevin. I went for it, of this character who was bipolar. The Meha Singh character was supposed to be half this crazed Indian and half Bob Roop, the legitimate. And in my mind, the character Bob Roop was going to be a babyface, and the Meha Singh was going to be like a meat chopping Abdullah the Butcher. What a contrast to be having you got your own tag team in one person.
One person. There you go.
And to me, I thought, well, that's a fantastic gimmick. I'd never had a gimmick before. I still retain my real name for half my act, and I had this new persona that I could trot out. They could chop meat with the best of them. But when it came time to put it into play, and I don't want to lay the blame at Kevin's feet, but I needed the microphone to get Bob Roop across, and I never got the microphone. So Bob Roop never came out. It was just this weird guy that used to be Bob Roop's got his head half shaved, now calling himself Meha Singh. And as soon as about 6 months after we got there, and it's too late to develop the persona or the split persona, I ended up becoming the booker, and I retired myself.
Oh, okay.
And one of the inductees in Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame is Butcher Vachon.
Yes.
And I was just mentioning to Butcher about his daughter, Luna Vachon.
That's right.
Who was part of your group.
Yes, Luna was.
Yeah.
And sweet girl, you know. And oh boy, did she have some issues.
But she was crazy.
Yeah, she had some issues, but she was sweet. Later in life, and sometimes was. Not long after. And my wife moved down to Florida with me. I knew I was going to be there long enough to bring her down and set up our own home so we could be together. And Luna would come over on days off, and we'd play cards or just visit. And she was a sweet girl, and she had some demons in her background. I don't know what they're from. I never asked her, and she never opened up. But she was perfect for the Prince of Darkness stuff because she was angry. She had a lot of rage inside her, and she was able to.
Well, and that came out a lot when she was in WWE as well. You know, when she worked in the '90s, especially when she was working with Goldust. That was almost kind of a match made, somewhere south of heaven, maybe, but still, it worked beautifully.
And since you're talking about that, if you don't mind, I feel like I'm interrupting your whole interview.
No, you're good.
I have to ask you then about the fallen angel, the other Nancy Benoit.
Nancy,
Nancy Sullivan / Benoit.
First of all, George, you have such credibility, my friend. You are not going to be interrupting anyone's interview.
He's our new co-host.
No one's.
We're going to put George in the intro now.
Yeah, you're not interrupting anybody. You're an integral part of any interview that you're in.
Right.
Me.
And we work on the Freebird world.
You have the credibility to ask these questions. If it was someone who was unschooled and said, "Well, what was that about?" I don't know if I even want to tell them.
Right.
Nancy, she was with Kevin. When we went to Florida, I was with Kevin and Mark and Luna, and we were living together, and Nancy, and we were living together in an apartment in Daytona Beach. Kevin had a friend that let him use the apartment, but their lifestyle, I was kind of a loner, and their lifestyle was so
different
out there. Yeah, different is very kind, very kind word. Yeah, very, very ambiguous. That I decided, and I was a loner anyway. I decided I wanted to live in Tampa. I didn't want to be in Daytona Beach, so I went and got my own place, and I lived in a motel for a while, and then the Grappler, great guy.
Len Denton? No.
Len Denton. Yes. Yeah, great guy.
He's here today, too?
He's right over there.
Oh, you're telling me? No.
Yes, he is.
I got to go say hi. He had an
We'll bring him over here in a little bit.
He had an apartment that he was leaving, and he let me take over his lease. So I had an apartment. I brought my wife down, and it was that apartment that Trudy, Luna's real name was
Trudy.
Right.
Came and visited, had dinner with us and visited, and I think she felt like she had a home away from home, and my hearts went out to her, because she was obviously a troubled girl.
Absolutely.
But I mean, she was perfect for that darkness stuff, because my own personal opinion. I thought it was too out there. I mean, we had the good against evil, but I mean, The Exorcist.
Yeah.
That movie scared the crap out of me.
Well, and there was some of that stuff. I mean, even when Kevin, brought it forward into, Crockett and such, and even now he still does it now on occasion. I know he did a couple years with Ring of Honor, and did an Impact, and it's. I mean, now you kind of understand because it's Kevin Sullivan. But back then, especially 14-year-old me, I was like, oh my God, I don't want to be around this guy.
I used to put a lot of pictures in my magazines and write stories, but I never really wrote about how far out it was.
Yeah.
I sugarcoated it to a degree.
Well, and I think a lot of that, because you're trying to appeal to the masses.
Yes.
And if people knew how far out, that may have been a little much for 1980s, wrestling audience.
But it was the 80s. It was the 80s, and it gathered a lot of talk.
Well, who is the Prince of Darkness?
No.
Who is Kevin Sullivan?
Who is the Prince of Darkness?
Oh, well, yeah, Satan.
Satan.
Of course, yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think Satan is too strong for professional wrestling.
Yes, absolutely.
I mean,
absolutely.
it would be someone doing a gimmick of being Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I mean,
that'd be a little
very,
too much.
very deliberately.
That is what,
here.
yeah.
Please,
that's
the audience out there listening, please. I apologize if I offend anybody, but I'm trying to make a point.
There's a place. There's a place for things like that.
Place and things, and bringing Satan into pro wrestling is just going too far. You don't need to go that far.
No.
To attract an audience. In fact, I think it repels people. If I was an adult, as a grandparent, and I know that people I was going to watch were Satan worshipers, I wouldn't take my children. I do not.
No.
I wouldn't.
That
want
might
them
be a problem.
Be exposed to that, and I just felt it was too far out.
It was.
But they never actually said Satan. They used to say the Prince of Darkness and just allude to different things.
Yeah, of course. Well, and they use a lot of the symbolism and and a lot of the iconic, the icons and the different imagery.
They could have done an outtake in The Exorcist and not been out of place one bit.
But it got a lot of fans, and as a quote angle, it worked.
Well, if
it worked, and then you saw going forward with say when the Undertaker did the thing with Stephanie McMahon and stuff like that, you saw Gangrel and the Brood. It was that was kind of born out of that whole Kevin Sullivan.
You mean Luna's ex-husband?
Right. Absolutely.
To make a point, one of the things that I should stress is that my opinion is just that. It's an opinion. There's 4 different opinions because there's 4 mics here. And all of us have the right to that opinion. If they're completely different, there's no hostility or any sort of angst or displeasure if we disagree.
No.
Everybody's entitled to
we'll
opinion.
agree.
You can always agree to disagree.
Yes, always. And I mean,
everybody has opinions.
I won't fight you for your opinion.
That's right.
I will fight you if you tell me I don't have the right to mine.
And there is audience for that. There might be. It's just you may not appeal to me, but then again,
not in this day and time.
Exactly.
There might have been an audience for. I think that an audience for certain factors or certain kinds of things in pro wrestling. I think it's a fringe audience and maybe temporary. It would be the box office. It would depend on whether or not it's something.
Absolutely.
If the box office grows as you develop the angle or whatever the scenario is or are, then it's successful. And I use the Jerry Springer Show a lot, and that's not a knock. The Jerry Springer Show has been successful for 40 years.
He found his audience.
Success, you cannot knock success. Would I want to be on that show? No.
No. Yeah.
I don't. Again, I'm not knocking it, but there's certain things that that show makes pro wrestling look like the Olympics.
It does. And what you said applies to pro wrestling, especially nowadays. You hear, with AEW starting and fans. Thinking they have to choose. They don't have to choose. You can watch WWE, but you can also watch Ring of Honor and New Japan and Impact and Major League Wrestling and AEW when they get going. It's okay to like several different kinds. And it's okay to have your preference and your friend has a different preference, and that's okay.
Now that we've all got our Star Trek, what they call them, the telesponders or whatever it was.
Yes.
Transponders. Transponders.
Yes.
Now that we've all got our transponders in the form of our cell phones, we could be watching all those things you talked about all at the same time.
Oh, absolutely.
From all over the world.
And people do.
And we do.
As it's happening in real time.
Absolutely.
So what a modern new world. Huh?
I know. It's crazy.
That's great.
It's crazy.
Mr. Roop, may I ask, did you get a chance to walk through the museum a little bit yet, by any chance?
Not enough. Okay. I'm going to try to do that later today.
It's one of those things you gotta like carve out time and actually to. I mean, we've been here. This is our 3rd year, and there's still stuff that I'd like. Oh my God, I didn't know that was here.
This would take this museum to be appreciated. Would take at least a week, maybe 2, if you want to read the material that goes with somebody's life, their bio, or a certain angle, or an era, or whatever's there.
Right.
It would take a while to really appreciate it. You can do cursory glances at things and go, oh, he looked like interesting, but to really look at it, and that's the way I like to I don't want to just give it a passing glance and say, I've been a member of Waterloo Hall of Fame since 1907 or 2019. Yeah, I'm 150.
Well, you're dating yourself a little there.
2007.
You look great for 150. No,
yeah, and I haven't seen all of that museum yet. But
that's one I want to visit as well. I've been to Colorado. I would love to.
I was there one time.
Yeah,
the parts I have seen, I do know. I've looked at them in depth.
Well, that has professional and amateur, so you would really
They've got
like
a lot of stuff there.
Well, the greatest thing about it, my wrestling boots and tights are there.
Here we go.
In a museum that's called the Dan Gable Museum.
That's correct.
That's right.
The premier amateur wrestler of not just my generation, I think, of all time.
I agree.
And there's got pro wrestling. I'm in the Hall of Fame with a museum with his name on it. And the nice thing also about that was that the National Wrestling Hall of Fame, Wrestling Hall of Fame, based in Oklahoma, took the Luthez Museum Hall of Fame as the Dan Gable part of it anyway, as a part of that. So I'm by proxy a member of that Hall of Fame.
You are
also.
Absolutely.
I got into that in 2013.
Really?
Yeah.
Amazing. Bob Roop, George Napolitano,
George.
Hall of Famers the world over. And Bob, we're looking forward. Did you write a speech for tonight, or are you just going to shoot from the hip?
I've been thinking about things for a while. I'll have tonight. Oh my God! I'll be thinking of some stuff.
Okay, awesome.
One of the detriments to see in the museum, as you walk in the door, there's 2 or 3 old wrestlers sitting right by the door.
Yes,
you never get past them.
Right, because you're trading.
2 hours of stories later, you're still there.
But that's one of our favorite things about it.
Thank you for having me,
George Napolitano, Bob Roop. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you very much.
We love you guys. And it's so good to hear.
And I'm sorry if I took over your interview.
No, you're the third host now. We're gonna put you in the intro, and then we're
okay. Thank you.
We'll let the horn know we got a new host. So we're gonna take a quick time out. I know Miranda Gordy's walking around here somewhere. We're gonna get her. We gotta get the blondes. We got more people to talk to. Live from the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame. This is Sports Guys Talking Wrestling.
Hey, this is The Stinger, and you are listening to Sports Guys Talking Wrestling, where it's always showtime. Tune it in, and then tear off the knob.
Sports Guys Talking Wrestling live at the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame. Sting, a 2018 inductee. I think he needs to come and collect his hat and belt buckle and everything, but certainly one of the icons.
Before we jump into the new guests that are arriving right now, I do have to mention, so Bob Roop just, gave me some pointers on one hold. Some of the blondes might have to be looking out later tonight. I might have to try to apply it later.
Speaking of which, so now we go from legends to legends in the making. First of all, let us bring on 2 of our favorites, MLW stars. They should be the tag team champions. That stinking new Hart Foundation. But the Dirty Blondes are here. What's up, boys? Let's turn that up. There you go. Get in the mic. Get in close. Get in there close. And then
it's like you guys don't really share car rides and stuff already, right?
And then I've been wanting this young lady on forever, ever since we first met about a year ago, and now we have her. A wrestling star in the DFW area and all over Texas. And she is the daughter of the legendary Terry Bam Bam Gordy from the Fabulous Freebirds. We call her the Bad Street Babe. I think she calls herself the Bad Street Babe. Miranda Gordy. Hello, Miranda.
Hello. How are y'all?
It's good to see you.
Good to see you.
So let's start with Miranda. Give us your sense. I mean, this has got to be pretty cool for you, especially with your father being a legend here and all the stuff that's here to honor the Freebirds.
Yes, this is actually my first year up at the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame. And this yesterday was my first time to ever see the display of the Freebirds, and it's got my dad's vest and tons of pictures, and of course, kind of emotional, but also really proud to see it.
I imagine so.
Yes.
I imagine so. And on top of that, you were in the main event last night with Tigress Lords, and did a fantastic job.
Thank you.
It was great. I think the crowd loved that.
They loved it. Wasn't planning on it. Just had a feeling I should be involved.
Hey,
so.
why not?
Hey, right?
Absolutely. All right, so Blondes, it's good to see you guys. Last time I saw you guys was in Queens after Battle Riot. We shot the album cover for probably the worst rap album ever with the three of us and MVP. Since then, how are things going? How's the travels going? How's everything?
Very good, man. We're staying busy as usual. We're on the road 3-4 days a week. We've got some stuff coming up in Jamaica, maybe Puerto Rico again. Just staying busy every weekend.
Yeah,
man. Yeah.
And I know you've got a big show, the MLW show, coming up June 1st.
June 1st in
That's
Milwaukee.
Fury. What's it called?
Fury Road.
Fury Road, right? Yeah. It's going to be live on BN Sports.
Yeah.
So now I've got to ask you, especially with Miranda here, because the greatest, in my mind, the greatest rivalry ever, the Von Erichs Freebirds. Well, it looks like you guys are going to get to mix it up with the third generation. Ross and Marshall Von Erich just announced they have signed with MLW. They're going to debut at Fury Road on June 1st. How much are you looking forward to getting in the ring with them? Because you guys, it might as well be Michael and Terry or Terry and Buddy or whatever. Because you guys, we've said before, you guys, you're like the Freebirds. You got that same feel, and I think it'd be magic.
Well, I don't know if you know this. What was it, about a month or so ago?
Yeah.
We were with Miranda in Dallas, and we beat the living daylights out of the Von Erichs.
Of course, because Miranda was there. She helped.
She gave us some pointers on exactly the right, proper way to beat up a Von Erich.
She knows.
To it, and she's been showing us how to do it. So I think just taking it to that next level on literally international TV with MLW, it feels right, man.
It does feel right.
Yeah.
And especially when we were together in Denton for VIP Wrestling, and you were there with Randy Wayne, and who was the tag partner? I'm trying to remember. It was Randy and somebody.
It was actually APOC.
That's right, APOC.
Another guy. And
yeah, that's right.
We had to get in there.
I tell you what. Oh my God.
Boot or two, yeah.
It might as well have been the Sportatorium in 1984 because that crowd was so hot.
Yes.
I did fear for your life a little bit because well, now I've heard the stories because one of my very first interviews was Jimmy Garvin. Yeah. And he told me some of those stories about, tire slashing and having to sneak out a different side door of the Sportatorium.
And it was Denton.
And this was you're in Denton.
Yeah.
The Von Erichs are there. So I got to imagine. Let me ask you. I know you've been training a lot.
Yeah.
How's that going? And I know, like I said, everywhere I see you, there's a great crowd, and they're always either behind you or booing you, which you get a reaction. That's the problem.
Right?
That's the idea.
They love to hate me.
That's right.
But they can't help but love me.
That's right.
Even if they hate me. So
that's right.
It's going really well.
Yeah.
So, you'll start seeing more and more of me.
Good.
Yes,
I hope so.
Absolutely.
I think we might need to see if we can get you down to Austin.
Oh, absolutely.
Inspire Pro or Wrestle Circus, we may need a little bad street flavor in Austin.
I'm gonna bring it there.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And speaking of flavor, we gotta get you guys to Wrestle Circus.
Yeah, would you guys work Austin?
Absolutely.
Yeah, we need to bring you guys, if nothing else, to go out afterwards, and just have a good time because we're always used to going out in Wichita Falls. With all due respect to Wichita Falls, Austin, we know how to party.
It's just a little bigger.
It's a little bigger. Yeah, we know how to party.
Never had a bad time in Austin.
You're right. You can't have a bad time in Austin. Let me ask you this. In Blondes, this is, we've seen you every year here.
Wait, Steve, before you jump into that, do you guys get upset that nobody ever calls you by your first name? It's always just Blondes.
No,
Sure.
I like it.
Okay.
I'm pretty forgetful as it is, so whatever it takes.
I was just
well, see, and okay, full disclosure, I know you by your real names, but I can never remember what they call you on TV. So,
actually,
usually it's just it's the blondes with Colonel Rob Parker. So I'm trying not to say with Colonel Rob because he's not here.
Shivani, he can't remember our names either.
That's I know. Cornette doesn't either. I know. This is you guys have been up here every year. We've been up here. I got to imagine you always find something new and see something you haven't seen before when you come here to the Hall of Fame, right?
Yeah, man. It's every year. It's overwhelming. Not just like you're saying, seeing something new, but like meeting somebody new. It seems like every year there's a different legend that's here that we get to interact with, spend time with, listen to their stories. And being a lifelong wrestling fan, to me, that just makes it more than worth it to be here.
Well, you got the tapes.
Oh, dude, yeah.
And I can only imagine what you guys might have been talking with Bob Roop when you guys were sitting down next to him. So I'm sure you guys picked up something from him.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He was telling a cool story, I guess. I don't know if he told it when he was here earlier. Some trip that he did to Iraq. He got to wrestle in front of Saddam Hussein. It was pretty cool, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
No, he didn't even mention that at all, man.
Yeah.
Amazing. Talking with the Dirty Blondes and Miranda Gordy. What are you looking forward to the most tonight with the induction weekend, with the induction banquet, and seeing them formally inducted in the Hall of Fame? Is there somebody's speech you're looking forward to the most?
I know Ronnie Garvin's is going to be good.
Yeah, I just saw Ronnie. We're going to pull him here before he disappears, but I bet you Ronnie's going to be good. It sounds like not many people have written down a speech. Sounds like a lot of people are shooting from the hip. Miranda, is there someone you're looking forward to?
I'm here for it all, always. Yeah, all of it's going to be great, and that's totally cool if they don't write anything down.
I know.
Play it by ear, that's the best,
yeah,
right?
that's right. I mean, don't get me wrong, having Larry the Axe Hennig singing Ghost Rider in the Sky, and then Mick Foley spending 14 hours and writing his in calligraphy, both of them were fantastic. So every year it's so cool. Thank y'all so much for giving us time. Tell everybody, Miranda, start with you. Tell everybody how they can find you on social media so they can follow your journey.
All right. I'm on all social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, just Miranda Gordy, keeping it simple. All of that, you can find me on there. Okay. And Michael and Brian, the Blondes, I know it's the Dirty Blondes tag on.
No, it's actually just Dirty Blondes tag. Apparently, there's a rock band called the Dirty Blondes. Hopefully, they'll find out about us.
Hey, go beat them up.
You guys should fight them for the name.
Make sure your safe search is on too when you Google it.
Oh yes, absolutely. Yes.
Google Dirty Blondes.
Yeah, you
wrestling.
Google Dirty Blondes. It might be you might get something you don't want. So,
and of course you can catch us every Friday. No, they actually moved to Saturdays.
Is it Saturdays now?
Nights, yeah, on
Saturday nights on Beyond Sports.
Yeah.
ML Major League Wrestling.
Yep.
It was so much fun.
Congrats on that too, by the way.
Yeah.
Yes,
No,
y'all gonna do great. I can't wait to see it.
I mean, those guys. It was so much fun to see Battle Riot there in New York.
Yeah.
And
I hate New York, by the way.
Yeah, we heard the story about your ride back to the airport.
Subway experience. I'd rather not discuss that in
I
public.
know. That's okay. That's okay. Dirty Blondes, Miranda Gordy, thank y'all so much. Enjoy your time here. We'll hang out some more. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, more guests, more fun, more stories. Live from the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame in Wichita Falls, Texas. This is Sports Guys Talking Wrestling.
Hey, this is WWE Hall of Famer from the Legion of Doom, Road Warrior Animal, and you're listening to Sports Guys Talking Wrestling. What a rush.
Sports Guys Talking Wrestling, live at the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame in Wichita Falls. The Road Warriors, longtime inductees, and my Super Bowl colleague, as he likes to call himself, Road Warrior Animal there. Joining us now at our broadcast location, two of our favorite guys on the planet Earth.
Wow. From the East Coast.
Our East Coast brethren.
We don't like a whole lot of East Coasters.
Well, because they all keep moving to Austin. So the reinforcer, Andrew Anderson, he's here. What's up, Andrew?
What's up, buddy?
And one of the best managers and wrestling personalities ever, Carmine DeSpirito. Hello, Carmine.
How you doing, Paisan?
It's
Great
so,
to be here.
It's so good to see you
Good to see
guys.
y'all.
How much fun is this weekend?
Unbelievable. Wasn't it just great?
Just all the history and being together. And
It's a living wrestling museum.
It really is.
It's the archives of professional wrestling.
We just had, Johnny Mantell just walking through and making sure everything, and you could hear the excitement in his voice about how this is growing, and everybody's getting excited about it. And I know it's got to make you guys feel great as well, because you guys are as much a part of this as anybody.
It's right now. It's all about the vibes. We're trying to soak in the vibes, right, Carmine?
Oh, it's a great vibe here in Wichita Falls.
It's
it really
just
is.
a wild and really warm and fuzzy feeling, and at the same time, it's like you're excited because you have the past, the present, the future, and it's just a really, really cool thing, right?
Absolutely. And, everybody in this room has a passion for professional wrestling. You guys have a passion for wrestling.
Yep.
My paisan standing over here, George Napolitano.
Our third co-host.
Passion for wrestling. In
our
fact,
new-
he spread that passion of wrestling for decades now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there's so many guys here. It's great to see everybody.
I mean, you're standing around. You have Abdullah the Butcher by you. Then you turn around, and then you have Ravishing Randy Rose, and then you have George Napolitano. And Blackjack Brown is in the house.
That's right.
And then you turn around, and walking right past you is the grappler, Len Denton.
Yes.
Cowboy Johnny Mantell. I mean, it's a really, like I
and
said.
then hearing the, like you said, the current stars like the Dirty Blondes and Miranda Gordy, hearing their take as the esteemed president sits down for a moment. Cowboy Johnny Mantell,
El Presidente.
I know how excited you've been for this weekend. How much fun are you having right now? This culmination of a year's work.
Yeah, it takes a whole year, but it's really not me. I mean, everybody points at me because I'm the face, right? But it's not me. It's these guys. It's my volunteers.
Mm-hmm.
It's the city of Wichita Falls. It's the Downtown Merchants Group. It's the Connect Shipping Place. It's my shirt guy, Deviant Skate over here. It's all the pieces that it takes to make this thing work.
Yeah.
One person can't do it.
No, definitely.
One person may get the credit or get the blame.
Right.
And I understand that spot, so I'm sort of that person.
Just like a quarterback.
But this is a family effort. And like I say all the time, professional wrestling is a family sport.
It is.
And it's always been that way, and that's why we treat this weekend. It's family in here. These guys are family, man.
We all try to carry the load off Johnny's back to help him out, to make sure that everything runs smoothly. And tonight I will be hosting the event with Johnny.
That's
my
right.
first time hosting, and so I'm really honored that Johnny had chose me to do it.
Are you nervous?
Right. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to do like I did at the Cauliflower Alley. I'm probably going to lay my cocktail napkin underneath the podium just in case I pee myself.
And
I don't think that's going to happen, man. Drew can handle this without
tell you
any
what.
problem whatsoever.
Congratulations, by the way.
And again, it's a year-long thing to get this thing going and to pass the rings and the hats out and to see grown men that we all looked up to.
Yes.
Bob Roop.
Cry and get
Absolutely.
emotional, get their ring and hat. It's a special moment, and I was starting to say, for Andrew said something, we've never wrestled each other. We've wrestled a lot of the same people.
Right.
We've wrestled in a lot of the same buildings.
Mhm.
Carmine and I have never been on a card together, but he's managed and done stuff with people that I've wrestled with and traveled the world with. Those little things give us that connection. And that connection is what makes this sport different than anything else. And again, I call it a sport. I don't call it sports entertainment. I call it a sport. Because professional wrestling is about winners and losers and the fans being invested. And that's what happens here.
Couldn't agree more.
We as wrestlers, Johnny and I and Carmine as a manager, we never looked at it as we're going in there to work. We never looked at it as we're going in there to entertain. We looked at it as we're going in there to wrestle.
Mm-hmm.
We looked at it like we're going there to beat the crap out of each other. And all right, we were entertaining, but we are out there we are competitors. We're competing against each other, and that's how it was, and that's how we still feel about it.
Well, and I'll elaborate on that. People ask me all the time, what do you miss the most about it? And I say there's two things I miss the most. One is that brotherhood in the locker room and the guys and traveling up and down the road. And then for me, and I know it's bad me doing it and saying with this neck brace on, but I miss the physicality of it. I love the contact. I love the sweat. I love this fighting in the ring and the fans getting into it. And that's what's so important about it.
And that's what makes it, every sport you hear that. I get to work with a lot of football legends in doing charity work. And they say the same thing about what they miss about their playing days is the brotherhood in the locker room and going to games and the physicality and everything. And it means so much. And that's why, Justin and I, every week when we're on the air, on the horn, we always talk about the fact we are just immensely proud to be the media partner for the Hall of Fame, because this is something that you don't see everywhere. You don't see is one spot. There's one place where you can just immerse yourself in the history of professional wrestling. You understand why professional wrestling is what it is, how special it is, and for us to come up here and be a part of this. It's our favorite weekend every year.
Stu, what I said last night on Channel 6 News was that New York City has the Empire State Building, Paris, France has the Eiffel Tower. Well, Wichita Falls has the Big Blue Building with the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So we're trying to put this on the map. We want people to identify this. Like Gorilla Monsoon used to say, the Madison Square Garden is the Mecca of pro wrestling. Well, it was the Mecca of pro wrestling. The Mecca of pro wrestling now is in Wichita Falls in the Big Blue Building right now.
And we want it to be that way.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me ask you since it's been in Wichita Falls, and I want to get all three of you, what's been a moment or two that just really stands out in your mind since the Hall of Fame relocated Wichita Falls with the induction weekends and everything?
Well, I'll just say, man, because I'm sort of the guy that's at the hall every day and meeting fans.
Yeah.
So for me, it's when the fans come in and they talk about their favorite wrestler, or they talk about, well, this guy's not in the Hall of Fame. How can I nominate somebody? So we tell them the process. And then they go, wow, there's that kind of process, or that kind of checks and balances in the process? Yeah, there's that kind, because this is a real one. There's no back door. There's no politics. There's no money that's going to get you in here.
Not one guy sitting in the boardroom.
You have to get on the ballot, and then you have to win that vote.
And everybody asks me, they say to me, Drew, talk to Johnny. See if you can get so-and-so in the Hall of Fame. Drew, talk to Johnny. See if you can get this guy in the Hall of Fame. I keep telling them, you know what? If you want that person in, you have to write a letter. Send in that letter almost like it's a ballot.
Yeah.
And if enough people, send in the ballots, then eventually, the whole board of directors will have to open up and say, well, listen, this guy had a hell of a career. He meets all the qualifications. What do you guys think? And then they'll vote, and it's a process.
Well, and I'll just correct that a little bit. It's not the board of directors. We create a committee every year that creates that ballot. So like this year, I'm going to give you a perfect example, the Midnight Express. Right. So there's many factions or parts
versions,
of many
absolutely.
versions. So the committee came to the board and said, look, we see that you've inducted 3 guys twice before in this category, because the bylaw says a tag team's 2.
Right.
Not 3, not 4, not 5, not 20.
Right.
It's 2. And we said, yeah, the Animal and the Hawk with Paul Ellering and the Freebirds.
Right.
They were packages.
Right.
They were a package of people, and that's why they went in. So this year the committee felt like the way the Midnight Express, the original Midnight Express of Randy Rose and Dennis Condrey that was put together by the Fullers back in the day, they were very important to be part of it. And then Bobby Eaton coming on, he was very important. And they said, look, Norvell Austin, Lane, there was other guys involved, but they had to say 3. So when people ask me about it, I tell them, I say, those 3 were on the ballot, and they beat the other 4 teams on that ballot.
Right.
And so that's why they're being inducted. And I'm going to tell you, the other 4 teams are all worthy teams as well.
Absolutely.
But that trio did it. I mean, I talked to Corny, and he said, well, how come not Stan Lane? And I said, well, the committee felt like the 3 were the main ones, and they were the ones to be honored. And I have no problem with that. I got to wrestle with all 2. I never wrestled Randy Rose, but I got to wrestle the other 2.
Yeah.
They're Hall of Famers, man.
Right.
They are. And they're legendary matches. And you'll hear tonight in Randy's speech, when they went to the ring, they went to get the job done.
Right.
And,
Absolutely.
AWA champions, Southeast champions, so many titles they held all over the country. And then the changes. And then, there was a little short run where it was Dennis and Randy against Stan Lane and Bob.
Right.
So there was a little short run there.
Yeah, they would come out with Paul Heyman. Paulie dangerously against Stan and Bobby with Jimmy.
Yeah, so when they came out like that, they were called the original.
Right. I remember that. And that was back in the very early days of WCW.
For the AWA.
For the AWA, yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was AWA, but they did it again in WCW.
That's right.
Yeah.
But they came back as the original Midnight Express in the AWA.
Right.
And then they jumped ship back to the NWA before it
Yeah.
turned to WCW. Now, getting back to the original question, you were asking what was my definitive moment
Yeah.
when I realized that this was the actual Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame when it moved to Wichita Falls. Well, 3 years ago, when Johnny sat me at a table at one of the head tables, and I sat at a table with Greg the Hammer Valentine for his induction, and sitting right next to me and Greg was Terry Funk, Stan Hansen, and who else was on the table with us? I forgot who else. A couple other people were on the table. It was just the mayor of Wichita Falls was on the table.
Right.
I remember
Right.
that. Yeah. And wow. It was just. I look at that moment. I was like, "Wow, that was just a wow moment for me."
Yeah, I remember seeing Greg Valentine last year in Vegas, and he was wearing, both his rings. And he loved, and they were so proud of those rings.
He was more proud of the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame ring than he was in WWE.
J.J. Dillon did the same thing. He was proud of that PWHF ring. Yeah. He was showing me, and because I mentioned that we were connected, and he loved that. It was so cool.
Wild Bill Irwin was on the table with us.
Yes, Wild Bill Irwin.
So I'll give you another thing that's really cool, and that is when these deceased inductees are being inducted and we contact their families.
Right.
So this weekend to have Giovanni, Baron Leone's nephew here, and to have the Charlie Fox family here, and to have Red Shoes Dugan's family here, to have these families come and accept their honors. That's a moment that's unbelievable because they're so appreciative that their loved ones are being honored for the work they did. And Red Shoes came to the Hall of Fame. So those red referee shoes that I saw fly over me all the time, they're in the hall.
That's what Kay was talking about.
That's incredible.
Now, Carmine, I want to ask you because so this week you know about the Dark Side of the Ring series that's been on Viceland, which is fantastic. This past week they had the episode on the Fabulous Moolah. Talked about all the history and the controversies and all that. I know you have been a staunch supporter of Fabulous Moolah. You and I talked about this, I believe it was last year in Las Vegas, in fact, and especially with the whole thing with the Battle Royal at WrestleMania and all that good stuff. Did you see that episode? What did you think of that episode?
I thought it was great. I thought it was balanced. I wasn't expecting it to be that balanced, in fact. The whole thing about this is to accuse Moolah of pimping out the girls is to call her a criminal, and she was far from that. Moolah is the single most important person in the history of women's wrestling, period. Whether you like her or don't like her. She empowered women. She was the first woman to approach the New York State Athletic Commission 1978 to wrestle at Madison Square Garden. First woman to wrestle at Madison Square Garden.
Right.
To say that she mistreated the girls, I mean, a lot of the girls that came to her had nowhere else to go. Many of them had drug problems. Yeah. Many of them, I mean, she gave them a way to make a living. She turned them into wrestlers. And one thing about Moolah, anybody that knew her would say the same thing. She insisted on her girls to act like ladies. So she didn't want them to be seen in public drinking. She insisted that the way that she taught them how to dress, many of them. I mean, you couldn't smoke. You couldn't drink. You couldn't drink on the at least you weren't supposed to.
Right.
A lot of the gals snuck stuff in, of course. But I mean, she was I found her to be a very generous woman. Of course, if you pissed her off, yeah, you know what? She's not the one to piss off.
She was tough.
You know,
but you had to be tough back then. I mean, that's the way the wrestling business, the sport of wrestling business was. You had to be tough because you couldn't let just anybody in.
Right, and here's the thing: she acted as an agent for ladies wrestlers for how many years? 40 years. I mean, and that's where you went if you were a promoter to get some decent girls that could work, that that would show up and so on and so forth. I mean, would you concur with that, Johnny?
Yeah, I mean, history is going to tell the story, and so I have a little different take on the Viceland stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I think some of them are still telling the same old lies we've been telling for many years.
Right.
And I don't mean that to be negative or downward. I'm just telling you that in our society right now, our society needs a lot of help because we have a lot of issues in our society. And the only way to correct those things is to be honest so that people don't make the same mistakes over and over. I tell kids all the time when I talk to youth groups, the first generation that listens to their elders is going to be the best generation ever because they won't make the same mistakes we made.
That's right.
But our kids and the youth are still making the same mistakes.
They always do.
It keeps repeating itself.
Yeah.
So I think that we need to be more honest when we do. A documentary should be true.
Yeah.
So like I tell fans all the time, they come in and ask me a question, I'm going to tell them the truth.
Yeah.
It may not be great for somebody I'm telling the truth about. It may not be great about me, but I'm going to tell the truth about it because we have to. The good, the bad, the ugly, right? You have to get that out.
And there's good, bad, and ugly with a lot of things in life and society.
Yeah.
And that includes pro wrestling.
I mean, I'll tell you myself, I did a lot of research this year on Ann Laverne.
Mm-hmm.
And I appreciate Carmine's comment about Moolah, but studying the history and knowing that Mildred Burke in her third chapter talks about a young Mae Young coming in and wrestling and being the star, and yet Ann Laverne had Mae Young's first match.
Yeah.
And Ann started on horsehair mats with no ropes up around them and would take all comers on. The only woman wrestler with a cauliflower ear. I'm going to argue about who was the toughest of all time. and I'm just going to say this one time on here, and in the bio in the program tonight, everybody will read it. But Mildred Burke was a world champion at that time.
Yeah.
But the man that was promoting women wrestling at that time, she lived with.
Yeah.
Ann did not live with him.
Right.
Who was the champion?
That's right.
That's just my comment.
Right.
A lot of politics, a lot of things happen in our business.
It happens.
But the truth is going to be told one way or the other, and we're going to dig and dig and dig. And I found a quote from Buddy Rogers that said she was the toughest one out there that he knew of. And a lot of the guys didn't want to be on a mat with her.
And that's saying something coming from the original Nature Boy.
There you go.
Gentlemen, it's always a pleasure to talk to you guys.
I know
one
question.
Yes,
Could
ask.
she have beaten Haku?
I bet she'd give Haku a run for his money. As from what I've heard, that'd be a good match. That'd be a good match.
I agree.
I know y'all got fans to talk to, and Johnny, you got stuff to do. Thank y'all so much, Johnny Mantell, the president of Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Thank you.
Carmine DeSpirito, Andrew Anderson.
See you tonight at the awards bank.
That's right. Looking forward to your emceeing. Should be a fantastic night.
Expecting greatness.
We're going to take a quick break. We come back, we'll have more. Live from the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame, Wichita Falls. This is Sports Guys Talking Wrestling.
Hey everybody, this is Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man, and you're listening to Sports Guys Talking Wrestling. And remember, everybody's got a price for the $1 Million Man.
Because the $1 Million Man.
Sports Guys Talking Wrestling from the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame. In Wichita Falls, Stu Myrick, Justin Smash Simmons. The stars keep coming. As joining us now, two of the best that ever set foot inside a ring in Texas.
I love Stu.
What? I called you stars. I'm trying to give you love.
Call it like you see it, brother.
I call you stars. Chaz Taylor, Austin Rhodes.
No,
come on, you guys killed it around here. You were well known. You're stars.
I'm on. I think this is how many years now? 7th year for coming up, and I did 1 or 2 years before. Sporadic, but you've been coming up here
You've been in wrestling more than 7 years.
No, I'm talking well, I've been in the kitchen for the last 6.
Yeah.
You've been coming up here for like what? At least 10. You and Dad?
Yeah. No,
the shootout. And,
oh, yeah. Right. Yeah,
and
this is going back when it was still in New York.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. Yeah. But this is actually my first time here in Wichita Falls.
Okay. All right.
Oh, well,
I was going to say,
that's a fact. Yeah.
Because we've seen each other like at Cauliflower Alley Club and seen each other some of the local independents.
Right.
But I was going to say. So this is.
Actually, we see you getting around everywhere.
Yeah.
Well, when you have a radio show that covers wrestling, you got to go where the wrestling is, and if that means going to New York and hanging out in Madison Square Garden with Andrew
rubbing elbows with the bigs,
with Tito Santana, then so be it. Give me your. This is your first time here, Chaz.
It is.
Right?
I'm excited to be here.
Give me your sense. I mean, I know you've been through the museum, right?
I have. I mean, I walk through there and you just get goosebumps with the amount of history and heritage in the building, all in one place. I'm walking around and you're seeing guys like Ronnie Garvin, Abby, and just walking around and rubbing shoulders with these guys as you're looking at things throughout history of pro wrestling on the walls and kind of reliving it. You can't help but get goosebumps with the stuff, and you see some of your stuff from back in the day on the wall.
It's not real
30 years
until
ago.
you're standing here.
Right.
When you're standing here and you're actually looking at that pair of boots, or you're looking at that robe, and you know that this is all ring used stuff. And these guys, they've got Miss Elizabeth's dress in there, her wedding dress. Those things it's not real until you're right here looking at it, and you're like, God, this is our history.
This is history.
Yeah. This is our history.
And I'd like to say something to all the guys out there that are training to be pro wrestlers, fans also, come and experience it, because the electricity in there is pretty awesome.
It is there.
But not only for the fans, but for the wrestlers. Mm-hmm. All these kids want to be pro wrestlers. I call them kids. Sorry, no offense meant.
Oh, they're kids.
But they want to be pro wrestlers, okay?
Right.
Come to where all the history is and learn from it, because if you got some guys in the minor leagues in baseball on their way up to the majors, you bet your bottom dollar they've been to Cooperstown.
Absolutely.
So all these guys going through the ranks now and on the indie circuit, traveling up there, trying to be the WWE or whoever, do some homework and come to the Pro Wrestling Hall of Fame.
And if you're going to come on this weekend.
Yes. Amen. I mean, come whenever you can, but if you can make it on this weekend.
Yeah. If
Kay said it earlier, third weekend of May every year.
Every year,
it's
third weekend.
Same one. And you just, the energy, the history, just seeing everybody walking around, like you mentioned, Abdullah the Butcher and Ronnie Garvin and Bob Roop, and hearing those stories and hearing them to get together and trading stories with them.
I just sat out with Beverly Shade in the parking lot for an hour swapping stories.
That's awesome. That's why, that's big reason why we do this, just so we can put them in front of a microphone and just let them go. We had George Napolitano here with Bob Roop. We let him do the interview because those two, it's like, hey, George could be our third co-host.
Go
That's
at it.
right.
There you go. And you mentioned the third, the third weekend of May?
Every year.
Okay, so something to keep in mind. I've been wanting to come for years, but it's always been a conflict because my kids were younger.
Right.
So as a divorced dad, it takes a little while for divorced dads to plan that.
Right. Right.
So you got to schedule your weekend to bring the kids, or
just schedule it.
Schedule it to where you can switch weekends or something, because a lot of people don't take into consideration that divorced dads, single dads, the first, third, and fifth weekend of every month, that's when you get your kids.
Right.
So you take into consideration that I get my kids 4 days a month.
Wow.
So 4 days a month as a divorced dad, I want to spend every minute I have with my kids.
Of course.
That's why I haven't been here in the past.
Right.
So now I had to schedule things around where I was able to switch weekends with my ex-wife and my kids to where I could still get those extra 2 days and I don't have to give them up. But I'm here spending time with my family.
He's different than me in that aspect. My wife's birthday is the third weekend of May every year, and I postpone her every year for this.
And
she look. I do wrestling once a year now, and it's this. And that's all I do with wrestling. I own a pretty good business back
I know
home.
you're back. You're in Leander building.
Thank you very
What is it? What is it? Name your business.
First Time Fence.
That's right.
We run out of Austin. We do fence
Yeah.
decks, pergolas, screened-in porches. A lot of good work.
Okay.
Siding.
I've seen pictures of a lot of it, and
Yeah.
dude,
I've
that's
seen-
top
yeah.
notch.
Okay,
professional
so
work.
but look, we always had to have a job, and that's just the way it
Yeah.
was with wrestling.
Right.
In the era that Chaz and I don't know if y'all know, we were tag team partners way back
Yeah,
in the day. You
I
know,
do
but
know that.
in the era of Chaz and I, we had to have a job. For me, that job was always doing something with my hands, something
Mm-hmm.
crafty. I just learned to build over the years. My wife totally changed my life and my outlook and my perspective on things. She understands what this is for me. And I put a post out the other day before I came. I said, I don't really have family that I want to reunite with. So this to me is my family reunion every year.
And that's why a lot of the guys feel about this weekend.
It
and
is,
it-
yeah.
And it's this, like I said, whether it's here or Cauliflower Alley or Waterloo or whatever. This is one of those weekends where you can get legends together that probably don't see each other outside of this.
We don't have to worry about matches beating the hell out of each other.
Exactly.
We get to sit here and
Yeah,
share a beer with each other.
Yeah.
And she
You
gets
get
to
to watch
watch
somebody else beating
remember
the
that
hell out of each
time
other.
that
Yeah. Remember that time we beat the hell out of each other? Or,
Absolutely.
we don't have to worry about lacing up our boots.
No.
We can sit here at a table, eat together, and drink together, and not have to worry about taking bumps.
I tell you what, I really enjoy watching the Wrestling Under the Stars.
That was fun.
That's one of I like every year. It's
Yeah,
one of my
it was
favorite
fun.
parts of this, because now it's not like we're so involved in it that we can't sit and enjoy it. Now we just get to sit and enjoy it.
Right.
And we're vets. We're going to critique things, and but all of these kids, you're smiling. All of these kids look to their elders for guidance, and this is
that's-
the one place that you don't have to look far.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah,
It's
that's
right. It's
right.
right around the corner. We can, as soon as you're done, we're in your face, and we're telling you in
Yeah.
a good way.
Oh,
not
yeah, absolutely.
nobody's
You're
dogging
you're
anybody.
trying to help them.
It's only gonna make them better.
we were in a lot of faces yesterday.
One of my favorite moments all the time is last year the promotion in Austin Wrestle Circus. Tessa Blanchard was regular. In fact, I think she's still the Lady of the Ring champion.
Yeah.
And so when Tessa would wrestle, Tully would come.
Yeah.
And there were many times I would find myself standing next to Tully. We're watching matches, and we're talking about it, and I'm learning about how he watches the match and everything. And the whole time,
and
in
how
my
he critiques.
yeah, and the whole time I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm standing next to one of the
Tully
Four
Blanchard,
Horsemen,
right.
watching a wrestling match.
No,
it just blows
in
you
my
away.
eyes, the workhorse of the Four Horsemen.
Absolutely.
Tully Blanchard
Absolutely.
was
Yeah.
that.
So, let me ask you this: it's this weekend. Let me ask. We've been asking others. The times you've been coming here and coming to the Hall of Fame, whether it was here or in New York, has there been a moment or two that really stands out as that, when you think of the Hall of Fame, that's what your mind goes to?
Well, I guess since you hadn't really been here, I don't know if you'd be able to.
No, I mean, seeing some of the fans come through on autograph tables and the way their eyes just opened up and lit up, they're like, "Oh my God, you're so and so."
Yeah,
that was pretty cool. I'm like, I'm nobody. Honestly, I'm
we're all
nobody.
nobodies. We're all.
I mean,
nobody.
really. But in the grand scheme of things, I'm nobody.
Right.
But I've happened to wrestle in Japan, Brazil, Saudi, Belize, Mexico.
Yeah.
I'm in movies, TV.
Yeah.
I've been fortunate enough to travel and do a lot of things that other people haven't had the fortune to do.
But we've both been NWA champions.
Yep.
Yeah.
Multiple
And that's
times.
the-
Multiple times.
So,
And one of
but
the
in
things
the
that
grand
you-
scheme of things, in when I go home to my kids, I'm dad.
Right.
I'm not the pro wrestling superstar. I'm not the actor on TV. I'm dad.
You have to turn it off. It's like a
Yeah.
switch. When you
And
walk in the
you do
door
that.
at home, you've got to
You're
turn
not-
it off.
yeah.
And when you leave your house, you have to turn it back on.
Right.
And that's if the old school guys,
Right.
anytime they were outside of their front door, they were
They were the wrestler.
They were the wrestler.
Yeah.
Because you never know. You got kids running up to you in the grocery store asking for autograph. You're trying to eat dinner with your family, and they're yanking on your chair. Hey, can I get an autograph? You've got to. And a lot of guys hated that.
Yeah.
That just
Oh, yeah.
absolutely would chew your head off for
Right.
even asking. But it's true. You got to turn it on and turn it off.
I was at a gas
Family
station one
times
time.
that you turn the switch off.
I was at a gas station one time. This little kid runs up. He's like, "Oh my God, are you Chaz Taylor?" I kind of took aback a minute, and I smiled, and I was like, no, I just play him on TV. It's funny, but it's like
that's awesome.
But that actually is my name though too. So it was kind of.
And one thing you said, it rang true with me because we've talked to legends before. The first time that we had Jake the Snake Roberts on, and I think back to the documentary about him, and where he talks about he felt like he was a nobody, and people would remember him, and then they do that GoFundMe to raise money for his surgery, and that was the first time he realized, okay, the fans do care, and the fans do love me.
Unknowing to us, we touch people.
Right. And it's something you don't see until later.
And we're all still fans too. I'm a fan of this whole event. Like today, I'm a fan of what we're doing here.
Well, and that's why we do what we do. We're fans. We started as fans. We just happen to be.
That's right.
Jess and I happen to be sports reporters, but we're fans of pro wrestling.
We
love
to be wrestlers,
and we're greatly appreciative of you guys keeping us alive.
That's a fact.
It's. I think it's a mission of ours because, and we were talking about this with Kay, was, because of the nature of professional wrestling, a lot of stories die off because you didn't talk about it with anybody.
Right.
And
just
so
like old military.
Right.
I mean, Dad never told stories about when he was in the military.
Yeah.
I mean, you just didn't talk about it.
And so now this is a way to get those stories out and get them into the public eye and have people understand why we love professional wrestling. Yeah. Why I've been watching it since I was 9 years old, and I was scared at One Man Gang because he had those two tattoos on his head.
On his head
that he said that was Carrie and Kevin because he was going to kill Carrie and Kevin Von Erich. and all that. Abdullah the Butcher, and I thought he was going to stab me with a fork if he came through my TV.
Right.
Yeah. It's stuff like that. That's why we love it, and it's why we still love it. That's why. And it's one of those things where, you can love all types. You can love the old stuff. You can love the new stuff. I love watching the Rock and Roll Express back in the day.
Yes.
I love watching the Young Bucks now. Yeah. And I've been lucky enough, I've gotten to know both pairs.
Right.
Yeah.
I was gonna say,
now the crazy thing, I was going to say, the Rock and Roll, Ricky Morton pulling a Canadian Destroyer on Santana from LAX.
Yeah, I saw that.
That was, I was like, why is Ricky Morton doing that? Because he can. And we're going to see LAX next week at Inspire Pro, so in Austin. So
I think I like the reverse psychology of it. Instead of wanting everyone to go backwards, watch these old guys go forward.
Oh, absolutely.
I love that.
Yeah, to watch. Yeah, to
absolutely.
See that. Now the funny thing was, watching that NWA special with the Crockett Cup and seeing the Rock and Roll Express against the Briscoes.
Right.
I was like, okay. And I know Mark and Jay, and they're great guys. I love them to death. And I sent a message to Jay. I said, please don't kill Ricky and Robert.
Please don't kill
the Express. And he goes, we won't. So
there's a lot of people that still want them around.
That's right. Austin Rose, Chaz Taylor. What are you looking forward to most tonight? Whose speech are you looking forward to most?
Oh man, probably Abby's.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Probably
Chaz?
Abby's. I think. Yeah.
Abby's and Ronnie. I mean, all of them. I mean, even the representatives of the people that are honoring that aren't able to be here to accept their induction. I mean, each person individually has their own little story, and I think it holds its own merit because, I mean, like some of these guys, I mean, you wish you had some of these people's stories on tape.
Yeah.
Just like my dad. I mean, I wish we'd have had video and audio of him sitting down and giving us some of the lessons back in the day.
Yeah.
That some of these the people
Sputnik
nowadays
Monroe.
just don't get.
Look, listen, this here. I'm serious. Sputnik Monroe used to walk, and he'll tell you, Sputnik used to walk into the gym, and we'd all be training. The first thing out of his mouth, all these sons of bitches with these fucking knee pads.
Yep.
We didn't wear fucking knee pads. Y'all are all a bunch of pussies.
Yeah.
That's what we got. That's what we grew up with.
You got knee pads on you.
You got knee pads on. Where's my 6-pack of beer?
Yeah.
He'd come in with beer, and he would just, he would dog everybody. But he was sincere when he looked at you with like dislike. he was sincere about that. He didn't like many people at all.
Right,
I mean, at all. Bubba loved Bubba to death, but his daddy was a mean dude.
Yeah, absolutely.
That guy was.
That's why Bubba's like he is.
That's why Bubba's like he
Absolutely.
is. That's a fact.
Thank y'all so much for giving us your time.
Man, thanks
we
for
always
thank
we
you.
always enjoy
Thank
we always
you.
enjoy getting the stories and looking forward to celebrating tonight and the after party that will happen, which hopefully will survive
Every
because-
year.
Yeah, every
And,
year.
you know, that's part of me is like they call it an after party. When you party all the time, there is no
There's
after party.
no after party. That's right. That's right.
Amen.
Austin Rhodes, Chaz Taylor, thank y'all so
I think
much.
they say after the party's the after party.
That's right.
But you know, we put over Austin and his business. You know, a lot of people out there seeing what I've done
Yes.
lately.
Yes.
You know, I still wrestle. I lace up the boots every once in a while.
He's a Jedi.
And, you know, I'm a bounty hunter. You know.
Oh, he's a bounty hunter.
But a lot of people out there, if they want to check out I have a new Facebook page.
Okay.
Chaz,
Yes.
what are they? One of my friends up in Ohio actually made me an actor's page because I'm
Awesome.
doing movies, TV commercials, and different things. I got a Dorito commercial out there that I'm done. And,
I know.
You know, and all these different things. So, I
You're
think it's called Chaz on Film is what he
Okay.
labeled it.
Yeah.
So,
All right, check it out. We'll check it out.
You know, I had a movie come out a month ago, Girls, Guns, and Blood. So where
You showed me the post. That was fantastic.
a lot
Got
of
a
people,
bunch of sleuts in it.
yeah, a lot of. I got on Adult Swim. Some of the people out there, 80s wrestling
Yeah,
comedy.
yeah.
Suplex, Duplex, Complex.
Yes,
If you
Lance
haven't
Hoyt
seen it,
and
check
Mike
it out.
Dell. Yeah.
Yep. So I mean, it's a little short film on Adult Swim, but
I saw
it's
it.
It's on YouTube.
Yeah,
so
it
everybody
was
can
you
check
and
it
Mike
out.
Dell and Lance Hoyt and there was
Right.
who was the other?
Another guy that he's a voice actor.
Yes.
He doesn't
Yeah.
wrestle,
It
right?
just-
But
it just goes to show you there's life after pro wrestling.
There is life after pro wrestling.
Amen.
Absolutely.
Amen.
Thank
So-
you guys
Dude,
so
thank you,
much.
brother. Thank you, brother.
We're going to take a quick break.
Appreciate it again,
We'll
Chad.
wrap up things.
Thank you, brother.
Or we may have more people from the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame. We are at.
Ta-ta for now.
This is Sports Guys Talking Wrestling.
This is WWE superstar Charlotte Flair, and you're listening to Sports Guys Talking Wrestling. Remember, if you're going to do it with Flair. Woo!
Sports Guys Talking Wrestling live at the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame in Wichita Falls. Stu Myrick, Justin Smash Simmons, young lady that will probably find herself one day in this hallowed hall, Charlotte Flair.
No doubt.
You know, her daddy's here, of course. Her daddy's ensconced here, of course.
Yeah, but I mean, she could stop now and she'd still be in the Hall
I
of Fame.
think so. She, 7-time women's champion in has held every women's championship in WWE.
Which is great, but all you have to say...
NXT Divas, Raw, the women's, Raw women's, SmackDown women's.
I know, but...
And she's going for a SmackDown title again.
I know, but honestly, all you have to say is that she headlined WrestleMania. I was like, how many people get to say that?
That's right. That's right. As we start to wrap up, because you weren't with me on Wednesday night, and again, huge thanks to Brian Fritz from the Sporting News for filling in. So I want to get a couple of thoughts from you, and we got to talk a little Money in the Bank, including Charlotte. Let's talk first about the deal that was announced. All Elite Wrestling they finally made it official at the Warner Media upfronts. They have signed a deal. They will be on TNT. TNT is back in the wrestling business.
I know. They even announced on their Twitter that they were back in the wrestling business.
And you saw the picture with the AEW logo with the Nitro Flames.
Oh, yeah, the old school
Oh,
remake.
that was fantastic.
It's just good. It's good for everybody. It's
It's
good for the business. It's
and
good for the guys that are gonna, and ladies that are going to be working, get a chance to actually make some money. It looks like it's going to... I mean, it's on TNT.
It's going to be on. That's a big deal.
Yeah, it's a huge deal.
This is someone that's done wrestling before. It's a major cable network.
Yeah, it's
Plus, they
interesting.
got the streaming deal with BR Live, including Double or Nothing next week.
But I mean, it was interesting because people had speculated, nothing, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, they do have a major TV deal. Like
Yeah.
major. We're talking, better than what.
Yeah, Turner Media, they know something about doing, sport. They've been trying to build up their sports properties. Of course, they still carry Major League Baseball. They have the March Madness. They carry which soccer league is it? Champions League. They have Champions League on Turner.
Yeah. They carry the
They've been,
games.
so they've been slowly but surely trying to build up that sports division in Turner, and now this adds to it with All Elite Wrestling.
Well, I think they found that this is going to be like the right fit for the next generation. It's like the WWE took you through the 80s through today, that they feel that maybe AEW will be the next jumping point into what professional wrestling will evolve into. You know, it's still kind of a wait and see thing, but
it is wait. I mean, we don't even know. Like, they didn't announce what they just said later this year. Now we assume it'll be the fall. We don't know what night. Brian was telling
Tuesday.
us Tuesday makes sense because SmackDown will move to Friday nights when it moves to Fox, so that'd be a natural night. However, Brian says it could be a Wednesday night show on TNT. So we'll see. I mean, I know those details will probably come out later as we get closer to the fall, but it's and Cody and them said themselves, this is going to be the alternative. We're not trying to be WWE, not even trying to replace WWE. This is simply the alternative for those that are maybe turned off by what WWE is doing.
Yeah, we'll just see how it pans out. I mean, some of the criticism is unwarranted in the sense like they haven't even begun yet. So how are we supposed to talk about it until they begin?
We got to see, and it'll start next week, next Saturday with Double or Nothing in Las Vegas. And of course, we'll preview that this week on the Horn. We hope to bring Dustin Rhodes back on to talk about his match with Cody. I think he is going to come on. I got to confirm that with him. And we're going to have a couple of correspondents at StarCast. Our good friend Melissa Foss is going to be there, so she's going to be kind of our roving reporter. And then on top of that, Dominic D'Angelo, who works for WrestleZone, is going to help us out. So we're going to have them on to kind of help, give us the flavor of what's happening in Las Vegas next week. And then coming up tomorrow, as we record this, tomorrow on WWE Network, Money in the Bank coming from was it Connecticut, Hartford, Connecticut, the XL Center?
The home of WWE.
Yeah, they're right down the street.
Yeah.
It'll be on the WWE Network. It's Money in the Bank. Real quick, just want to get a couple of picks from you. Let's talk first. We know that Seth Rollins, AJ Styles. Seth Rollins will defend the Universal Championship against AJ Styles.
Should be a good match, but
should be a great one.
Seth Rollins is going to keep the title.
I would think they're going to. It seems right. Kofi Kingston will defend the WWE Championship against Kevin Owens. That's become a really good rivalry.
That should be a good match with a lot of good psychology, good storytelling. I don't see them taking the belt off of Kofi so soon, especially since they're kind of...
I think they want to milk this.
They have
really
to.
do.
I mean, this is the first time. So it definitely has to ride a course, and you have to. And maybe when Big E comes back, maybe then that's when it will end. But until then, I don't see a reason to take it off of him.
It feels like they may turn either Big E or Xavier or both. I mean, that is such a good act. I don't want to see.
I don't think that they will. Not necessarily, because I mean, you have to look at demographics and what they can sell, and I mean.
By the way,
honestly, in Kofi, I think he even mentioned before that if they went heel, he just quit.
Yeah, it just didn't work. I think it's just like you can't break up the Rock and Roll Express. You can't break up New Day. And by the way, Big E, crushing on Becky Lynch's mom, is that like the greatest thing ever?
Well, unfortunately for WWE storytelling, it's probably been one of the more interesting things that has happened.
Let me ask you this: what did you think of them, of Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch revealing that they're in a relationship?
Man, it's their personal business.
I know. I mean, and that's the way I want to treat it.
It's still really weird for me to be like, oh, well, obviously they both wrestle and they're on the road, so it's only natural that they would start at least, we've
seen it a lot of times.
At least relations.
Charlotte Flair and Andrade,
I think it's just more accepted now.
Yeah.
But, I just try to...
Let's just hope they don't end up on Total Divas. Please.
No, I mean, I watch Total Divas. I don't know why.
You
watch Ms. and Mrs.?
No, because Ms. and Mrs. is funny. And it's Austin. They're in Austin.
And Total Divas, it's not like Total Bellas now.
Becky Lynch, 2 title matches.
Yeah, that's what happens when you got 2 belts.
Yeah, Becky, 2 belts. She will defend the SmackDown title, women's title, against Charlotte Flair.
I mean, how on were we that they were going to make a shirt and they were going to go ahead and just let belts fly? Wasn't that great?
That's, maybe
things are changing little by little.
Yeah. And then she will defend the Raw Women's Championship against Lacey Evans. Of the 2 matches, which one do you think the title changes hands?
It's got to be, I think I think if you're going to make anything exciting, you have to kind of give it to Evans, right? Don't you?
I wouldn't. I was going to see. I go the opposite. I would go Charlotte.
You think Charlotte? I don't know, man. I think you have to really put over Evans if you're really going to put her over. There's no reason to put her in a match of this caliber and just have her lose, unless she cheats. But I mean, you have to keep her strong.
That's true.
So it's like either she wins, she barely loses, but I don't see it being clean.
No, I think you're right, and I don't think Charlotte wins clean.
Probably not.
If she
wins.
Yeah, if she wins. Again, we'll see. And then
they definitely got something interesting with the women's division with her holding both belts. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
Let's talk real quickly the 2 Money in the Bank ladder matches. Let's talk the women first. They've made a last-minute change. Apparently, Alexa Bliss is not cleared. So Nikki Cross. And this is a new Nikki Cross. This is not the Sanity Nikki Cross. She's actually kind of collected, I guess. So you got Nikki Cross with Naomi, Natalya, Dana Brooke, Ember Moon, Mandy Rose, Bayley, and Carmella.
It doesn't just seem that this is supposed to be Ember Moon's like coming out party.
That's what I told Brian. I said that was the name that leaped out to me was Ember Moon.
I mean, the athleticism, the ability that she has.
Yes.
Seen her take a lot of jumps and risk.
And we're a little biased because she's
from Texas.
She's a Texas girl.
But I mean, it seems like a match like this is tailor made for her skills to show off.
Absolutely.
And I'm hoping that Mandy Rose actually has a pretty good showing too.
I hope so too. I think she's on the verge of that breakout type of thing.
Yeah, she just needs like
when they
push.
decide to split her from Sonya Deville.
And I think it's going to be interesting to see what they do with Bayley because she was the most overperformer that they had for a few years in NXT and in the main roster. And she's kind of floundering again. Yeah. And we have to see where she's going to end up.
And then the men's match. And again, another change. Braun Strowman's out. Sami Zayn in.
I'm okay with that.
You okay with that?
Yeah.
So you got Sami Zayn, Drew McIntyre, Ricochet, Baron Corbin, Randy Orton, Ali, Andrade, and Finn Balor. Finn Balor, the current Intercontinental Champion.
How crazy is that match going to be? There's going to be so many spots.
Between you got Sami, Ricochet, Finn, Ali. Oh my God!
Yeah, I'm hoping that
it's going to look like a Lucha Underground match.
I'm hoping that people are going to be okay after the match. I'm afraid that they're going to take some really high risk and hopefully.
This is Ricochet's first big match.
I know, but I mean, if they're going to build around him, this is like the type of match he needs to win. But I think it's too soon. I think maybe Finn Balor is really the guy who never lost the Universal title, is a guy that deserves to get this, so he has a chance to get it back.
Well, we've been saying that for a while, and they still haven't done that.
Yeah, but this is the WWE. It's like working through the government. It could take years for change.
I want to say Ricochet. I'm also leaning Drew McIntyre.
I mean,
because Drew McIntyre is set up to be the monster heel. Just please, for the love of God, don't give it to Baron Corbin again.
Man, but what a reaction he would get if he did. He get booed everywhere.
You think they're worried about ratings now? What happens if he gets that briefcase?
No, I see what you're saying, man. Okay, so right now it's really
I'm leaning McIntyre.
Depending on who they want, and Rollins is a good guy, so yeah, I mean McIntyre seems like a natural pick. If it's not McIntyre, it's going to be Rollins. But the other guys, I think it's just a chance for like a guy like Ricochet to really show. If people weren't really paying attention to what he's been doing on Raw, people definitely tune in for pay-per-views. Yeah. So, ladders involved. I'm expecting something. I hate to say it, something huge.
I think you're right. That's Money in the Bank, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Central tomorrow. The kickoff show starts at 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central. The kickoff show, it's actually the Usos versus who's the SmackDown? They're going for the SmackDown titles against Daniel Bryan and Rowan. But the Usos are on Raw, so you got to imagine
it's not going to change.
Yeah,
it's not going to make any
the
difference.
Planet's tag team champions are going to stay the Planet's tag team champions.
That's what I'm thinking.
So anyway, George, you look like you want to say something. Come join us before we wrap up. Come join us. Come sit. Our new third co-host. We're going to have this rotating seat of third co-host from Jeff Howe to Melissa Foss and now George Napolitano. George, I didn't get to ask you. What are you looking forward to most tonight?
Well, I think it's already happened. I saw a lot of people that I was looking forward to seeing.
Yeah.
Bob Roop, then talking to Bob.
Man, you guys had stories.
That was, and that's what we were. So, I mean, you kept at. I'm going. Please, for the love of you guys, go.
Well,
we'll just lay back.
That
was
no. Seriously.
again, third co-host. Let you have. That's the beauty. That's the beautiful part of this, though, is to see you guys get together and just listen to the stories.
Mm-hmm.
That's as good as anything with us. We love that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
because right before that, I had talked to Butcher Vachon, and Luna was a friend. I mean, she was nuts.
Yeah,
I know everybody says it.
She would say to me, "Well, okay, Butcher Vachon used to run a promotion called Grand Prix.
Yeah,
out of Montreal, and many a time I used to go to Grand Prix, and I would stay at Butcher Vachon's house.
Oh wow,
yeah, and I remember seeing Jean Ferrer against Don Leo Jonathan."
Oh,
and
wow.
your people should know Jean Ferrer is Andre the Giant.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is before Andre. This is when Andre was 7'5" and upright. And that's how I really met him.
Wow.
So I stay at Butcher Vachon's house. And where this is going, years later, when POW, professional women's wrestling, or powerful ladies of wrestling, or whatever it was, Luna was on the show. And Luna come up to me, and I was with some other girls, and she said, "Stay away from him. He seduced me when I was 12.
Oh, wow. That's crazy.
That was her thing, telling people that I seduced her when she was 12 when I stayed at her house.
Oh, man.
That's
crazy.
fantastic. Oh, my God.
And I mentioned that to Butcher just a little while ago. And he said, that sounds like what you would say.
It sounds like
Of
something
course.
that would have been said.
Oh,
man.
All right, well, we're going to get out of here because we all got to get ready for tonight. We got to get spiffy.
Mm-hmm.
You got to get your camera all polished up and ready.
Take another several hundred photos.
Now, is Brickhouse going to help you with photography as well?
Blackjack.
Blackjack, I mean?
Yeah, I'm going to walk around and I'll have Blackjack snapping for me.
There you go. Absolutely. Yeah, because you're going to be probably in as many photos as you will take tonight.
That's for sure.
I don't know about that.
I think you will. Again, we can't even voice how grateful we are to Johnny and Kay and everybody at the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame for letting us do this. This is something that is so dear to us. We love doing this every year. We just enjoy being in the atmosphere and around the legends and getting to know George and Bob and Abdullah and everybody.
But you're talking to people who lived that, and you're getting first-person accounts.
I know.
You're not talking to somebody who knows, and there's. If I go through Twitter, everybody's an expert. Everybody knows everything.
You're right, and we're getting it from them. I've watched wrestling for 4 decades. I never call myself an expert because I saw it.
I don't mean that negatively, but
you're right.
It's true.
You're right. It's getting those stories, and to hear it from the people that lived them, that means so much.
It makes it real. Yeah.
George, thank you for your help, and thank you for being on with us so many times, and you are such a dear friend to us. I love seeing you every chance I get. And yes, we're going to have to make that trip to New York happen because Carrie Silken's been bugging me forever. We got to come up, so the three of us, we got to go do New York right. We're going to wrap up and get ready for the banquet tonight. Again, thanks to everybody that was here. Thanks to everybody that came on, from Austin Rose and Chaz Taylor to Abdullah the Butcher to Randy Rose to
Bob Roop,
Andrew Anderson, Cowboy Johnny Mantell,
Tigress
Lourdes, Miranda Gordy, the Dirty Blondes. I know I may have forgotten a name. Thank you all so much. Thank everybody for taking a listen. That'll do it for this Sports Guys Talking Wrestling. Again, we'll be back on the Horn Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Central. We will recap Money in the Bank. We've got a preview. Oh, my God. We got a preview. Okay, we got a preview Double or Nothing from AEW. We got a preview Sabotage Wrestling, Come and Take It, which will be next Saturday in Austin. And Inspire Pro Wrestling and Hero Never Dies 2 next Sunday in Austin.
There's a lot going on.
We got a lot of wrestling coming up this week. We're going to try to preview as much of it as possible, get a couple of interviews. So make sure you tune in, 8 p.m. on the Horn, 104.9 AM, 1260 in Austin. Stream worldwide via hornfm.com and the Horn Austin app for smartphones. But for now, you can find Justin Smash Simmons on Twitter, Instagram, and Twitch at The Smash Simmons. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Stu Myrick, that's STEWMYRICK. You can follow the show on Twitter at SGTWATX. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram at Sports Guys Talking Wrestling. We are immensely proud to be the official media partner of the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame, the only brick and mortar home for professional wrestling. And we are proud to be part of the great lineup you hear every day on the flagship station for the Texas Longhorns. We are the Horn. As I say, catch us Wednesday nights, 8 p.m. Central on the Horn, 104.9 AM, 1260, 101.9 FM. And catch us anytime on demand by going to the on-air tab at hornfm.com or by subscribing to us on your favorite podcast platform. On behalf of Justin and myself, thank you to everybody from the Professional Wrestling Hall of Fame. For Justin, for George, for everybody, I'm Stu. And to quote, as I love to do, the great Bill Apter, we'll see you at the matches.
Goodbye and good night.